Your host, Parker, Dan, and Angela slice and dice their way through the good.
If it bleeds, we can kill it.
The bad.
You brought the devil!
There's a devil inside everyone.
And the ugly movies you love.
And you can't piss on hospitality. I won't allow it!
Hold your favorite films and franchises tight, because they aren't safe. In fact, it's already too late. It's time to dissect that film.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Dissect That Film, a podcast that dissects the good, the bad, and the ugly of cinema. I am your host, Brett Parker. Joining me, as always, my wonderful co-hosts, Dan and Angela of DNA Gaming.
Hello.
Woo! And joining us once again is friend of the show, but also he is the host of two amazing podcasts, NostalgiaCast and Back to Bluey.
Yes,
Darin Lundberg.
Hey, this is what, my third time that you've let me enter into your domain. This is great.
Yes, we have 6 hours of glorious content of Darin Lundberg on the show,
dude.
Will it be 9 by the end of tonight? Hopefully not.
If this goes wrong, if this goes long, this video does, I want to officially, when you're on here, you need to change your name to DW Runs the Clock Lundberg or Lundberg. Like, just please, it'd be fucking great.
Well, I blame you guys for that, because if it wasn't so fun to talk to you guys, then we wouldn't. This would last like 10 minutes, so I would just not talk. So that's your problem.
What a problem to have.
Blame you.
People like us, guys. People like us. I don't know why, but they do. Well, Darin is here because we asked him to be on the show, and he said, I will be on that episode where I don't know what movie I'm going to be covering until a week before I'm on the show. So, yes, this is the end of our month of 1986, where the person that is kind of the host of that month, which is Dan, picks 3 movies that our lovely patrons over at patreon.com/dissectthatfilm got to choose from. And Dan, what were those selections?
Well, it doesn't matter because they voted for the wrong fucking one, first off. No, okay. So, seriously, it was Big Trouble Little China, King Kong Lives, and what was the last one?
Return to Nukem High.
That's it, Return to Nukem High.
Or no, it was Class of Nukem High.
Class,
Yes.
yeah, the first.
It was the original, the first one, yes.
Nukem was in the title. Yeah.
Yes.
Duke Nukem.
Duke Nukem, yes.
All about asses and bubble gums, but not the other Carpenter movie or whatever, but the Duke Nukem one.
And if you clicked on the video or are listening to the episode, you know what won, and that is 1986's Big Trouble in Little China.
This is Jack Burton in the Pork Chop Express, and I'm talking to whoever's listening out there. It's a pretty amazing planet we live on here, and a man would have to be some kind of fool to think we're all alone in this universe.
There is a hidden world where ancient evil weaves a modern mystery.
What's going on here? Is this some kind of
Magic. The darkest magic.
They call it Little China.
Finally, we shall bring order out of chaos.
It's where Big Trouble was waiting for Jack Burton.
Who? Jack Burton. Me.
Jack?
Jack?
Jack!
They told him to go to hell.
You make one move.
And that's just where he's going.
Somebody, I don't care who, tell me what is going on.
How are you gonna spring us?
I have no idea.
So, let's talk about our history with this movie, I guess. Actually, before we do that, Darin.
Yeah.
I'm so bad at this. I mean, it's like I haven't done 150 episodes of the show. Darin, please talk, because you have a new podcast that you've started. And so I want people to know more about that podcast. But of course, what is NostalgiaCast and what is Back to Bluey?
Well, I figured I've been on enough that I don't blame you. Like it's, people know who I am or been annoyed by me enough. But like Nostalgia Cast is, again, just Johnny and I, my best friend from childhood. We just take movies that we loved as kids, and then we try to look at them without the rose-colored glasses. That's basically the show. Just try to basically, nostalgia can be a dangerous thing. So we want to make sure that we're attacking these movies like fairly and objectively as you can, even though criticism is subjective. We've cover the gamut of everything from 1940s to the 2000s, and now we're doing like the 70s. We're calling it 70s Palooza, where Johnny wanted to do a bunch of movies from the 70s that he hadn't seen that I was familiar with, and so we're kind of covering those. And like we're talking about off camera, not as many people are interested in those ones as they were in the 90s, just because some weird kind of attitude of how movies just didn't exist before the 80s or something like that aren't important. So we're running into a lot of that. But that's
sick.
Yeah, we talk about that every single episode. We just released an episode on Close Encounters of the Third Kind, where our guests from the anyway, our guests, we just recounted everything. We went on a whole spiel about the 70s movies and how they Paperback Flicks, that's just coming to me now. Anyway, the host of Paperback Flicks came on, Ray and Ruth, and we talked about the 70s for a little bit and how just people don't respect the classics. And that's the whole point of the show. So that's, I've told you about NostalgiaCast before. And then my friend Robert Yanis Jr. that I've got to know online, we've started a show called Back to Bluey, where I joke around because I got addicted, as many people have. I assume some of you on Dissect That Film have gotten addicted to the show Bluey that's streaming on Disney Plus, which is just this marvelous, just lovely, sweet, just fantastic little kid show that has all these little, it's not just fun for kids, but it's got all these little nuggets of knowledge for adults. It's just amazing. And so one day I was tweeting, one day I want to start a podcast where we just go through Bluey episodes and just talk about them. And Robert, who you know from Crooked Table Productions, he DM'd me or messaged me back saying, yeah, let's do it. And then we joked around for maybe a year. And then finally just decided, yeah, let's do this. Let's make sure that we do a Bluey show, centric show. So we're 6-7 episodes in. And so we're just trying to get the word out and get everybody involved and get people to watch Bluey, and people that have watched Bluey kind of start discussions on. The thing was, me and Robert as parents, and you watch the show, it teaches you different ways of how to raise your kids and how to deal with families. It's an aspirational show. And so we try to have, in the Twitter sphere being so negative, we want to have some little positive nuggets. So there's little 20-minute episodes of talking about 7 minutes episode of this cartoon. So yeah, Back to Bluey, like we're looking. I know Parker, we've already talked about getting you on as a guest. So obviously you're a Bluey fan, so we're just trying to get the word out and trying to get people to be more involved in that conversation.
Guess I have to start watching it now.
That show is ingrained in this household.
I think you guys will love it. It's incredible.
Else to get addicted to.
I have seen 2 episodes. I have seen the hospital episode where they play doctor or whatever, and I've seen the one with it's where they're at school.
Okay.
And it doesn't have to do with Bluey's family as a core, but it's some of the other external. Yeah. It's one of the newer seasons. And it's something to do with like superheroes or make believe or something. I can't remember the character. It was something ridiculous. My buddy's like, he watched it because his kids are a little younger than ours. He's like, dude, watch this episode. It's hilarious. So I watched it. It was pretty good. Like, it's a well written show.
Episode where like one of the characters is like super buff.
Yeah. Imagine being buff and like
talking to a horse.
Yeah, that's
that was from a set of like 10 new episodes that dropped like 3 months ago.
Yeah, that was the one. Yeah.
Well, Dan and Angela, it's funny because the kind of the attitude of the show is grown ass adults are watching the show that don't have kids, and they're finding excuses to go over to people's houses and watch it on Disney Plus. It's crazy.
Don't make excuses, just fucking watch it. Get Disney Plus and fucking watch it.
There's so many recommended groups on Facebook that those random posts that come across your feed, and it's like, oh, I found Long Dog in this episode, and I'm like, I don't even know what that is. Like, why is it coming up in my feed?
Yeah. So yeah, a lot of things are ingrained.
So the links to NostalgiaCast and Back to Bluey will be down in the description. Please listen to those shows; they're fantastic. Close Encounters. I mean, what a fuck! I grew up loving the hell out of that movie. So, and to listen to Darin talk about it for however long he does. It's a great way to spend your time. So
it has potatoes in it.
Yes,
A
it
lot
does.
of
Mashed
potatoes.
potatoes. Well, I wanted to congratulate you. I wanted to ask you guys a question because you guys just started what is Black Cauldron is episode 4 of season 2, and I was looking at it, and your season 1 is what 139 episodes. Holy shit, guys!
Yeah, because originally we were going to do.
Our seasons are
Originally
like
we were
22 episodes, and you went 139. It's like, what are we doing wrong? This is crazy.
Well, originally we were going to do seasons, and then when we took our extended break, we had the conversation, and we just said, "Fuck it, we're just going to start season 2." Almost 3 years into it. It's
Brett's off. So Dan and Angela, we've hit 500 episodes. Do you think we should take a break? Maybe we should call this a season. Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah, right. Put a cap on this one.
Anyway, big congrats, you guys. That's great.
Thank you so much. So yeah, what were we talking about again? Oh yeah, we were talking about Big Trouble in Little China, and let's talk about our history with this movie. We'll start with our guest, of course, Darin.
Please
tell us all of your history with this movie.
Well, this is I don't know if we've talked about it, but being a half Asian, this is a movie that's been ingrained in my brain. You ever have movies that you've just known forever, and you look back and you're like, I don't remember the first time I saw this. It's just ever since my consciousness, every time I grew a consciousness, it's like it's just been a part of my movie going memories. And so this movie and Jack Burton and especially the Three Storms, those guys were iconic. Especially the way that the one guy is like, is that Raiden from Mortal Kombat? You know, they're so influential, right? That they've bled into other media. And so I don't know. I don't really have too big of a history with it, other than as a half Asian, I've always liked it. I've always gravitated towards it. But again, it's always been the Kurt Russell character that's just been the highlight, maybe of his career, but of, a lot of movies. I think his performance in this is just, that's when I think of Kurt Russell, I don't know, I think of him in this movie more than Snake Plissken or Captain Ron or anything like that. So
Captain Ron.
On the commentary, John Carpenter's like, well, I think my favorite performances that you've ever done are either this one or Captain Ron. And I think he was 100% serious. So
oh man. All right. Dan, Angela, who wants to start?
I don't know. Just whatever.
We're both going to be a disappointment.
Yeah. Well, I've never seen this movie.
Oh.
We watched it for the first time.
So
I grew up watching horribly dubbed Chinese movies.
Mm-hmm.
And I loved them. Didn't know what the hell was going on, but loved watching the fighting.
Yeah.
And then you get people like Bruce Lee that come along, which I know he was, before my time. But I wasn't introduced to him till I was probably a teenager. So then coming to see Bruce Lee, I'm like, ooh, I love these movies.
Yeah.
But I had never watched this. I knew of it.
Okay.
Wasn't allowed to watch certain ones. It was just those. They don't say the bad words in
the dub.
Like this dubbed in the subtitles. It's like they tend to cut that out. So.
Well, the cool thing about Bruce Lee is he speaks a language with his body. Like, you didn't really have to know like what he's saying to understand that Bruce Lee is probably the coolest guy to ever exist in movies, right? And I'm assuming Dan, growing up on Godzilla and stuff like that, like me too, like dubbed Godzilla movies, like
they're the fucking best, dude.
Yeah, completely natural. Nothing wrong with
dude. Fucking loves just some of the dubbing that shit. It's so good. And of course, obviously it's not, but just for nostalgia purposes, I even have quotes that my brother and I, we grew up watching stuff. We'll say stuff, and he'll know because he grew up watching it with me. So
yeah.
But anyhow, I've known about this movie like Angela forever today. Actually, card shop I used to go to. I'm a card player. I like playing Magic cards. I'm sure I mentioned that before. I don't know if I have. And by the way, if you do play Magic and you are a fucker that time walks people or doesn't let them play or mind slaves people in endless loops, you're an asshole, but you have every right to do it. Just saying that. We had a bad experience with that the other night. Not getting into it. But anyway,
still going on about that.
Oh.
I wasn't there, but this is for off air. But anyway, I actually had a card shop, and a fairly new one that opened around here. It's been a little while back, but the guy that worked there was a cool dude. We liked the dude a lot, and we just BS'd about movies. And he said Big Trouble in Little China, and I'm like, I hadn't seen it. I don't know nothing about it. He's like, what? It's the same thing I get for like Indiana Jones and shit. Like, whatever, same old stuff. So we just BS for a while, and he just shows up one day. He's like, dude, here, just hands me the DVDs. Like, I found it at a yard sale. Big Trouble in Little China. He's like, just watch this. I was like, all right. So, like, that is actually why this was one of the 3 choices, because I knew I had this DVD from, like, a year ago, and I just been meaning to one of those movies I just hadn't made it around to. And I was like, oh, yes, this will probably get picked out of the other garbage movies I picked. But, this is the one, right? Not the one with Sergeant Slaughter, this one. So,
yeah.
But, that's really it. Like, I've heard about this movie. I've seen snippets of it here and there online. I had no fucking clue what was going on. But that didn't change much after watching it, and that's okay. But
that's we're going to talk about that. Yeah.
You know what blows my mind is the comment you made about somebody that's in this movie. The fact that you knew what she was from.
Oh yeah. We'll get to that in a minute.
It just went through my head again seeing her.
Yeah.
My history with this movie is I watched this a lot as a kid because I love Kurt Russell, and I wanted to watch everything that guy was in. And I remember watching like The Thing and this movie over the same weekend, not knowing it was directed by the same exact guy. Because but when I was a kid, like watching movies, I was for me, it was like Steven Spielberg. Like that was like the director. I knew what he did, Jaws, Close Encounters, Jurassic Park, E.T., stuff like that. But John Carpenter, his name just wasn't around for me. It was like I knew of his movies. I knew of Halloween and The Thing and Escape from New York and Big Trouble, but I never really knew of him until I got into, I think I was like a teenager, and John Carpenter's name started popping up in like all the movies he was attached to. I was like, I've seen all of these. What am I doing? Do I not watch the credits? Was I asleep when they're popping up? Like these are movies from the 80s when things were popping up in the beginning, when you had to watch the credits.
Yeah.
I don't know what I was doing, but
well, even though he plastered his name on all of his stuff too.
John Carpenter's always Halloween.
Yeah.
Right?
It was just it was there.
It was weird. I had a weird.
Well, I absolutely understand. Again, I saw Big Trouble before I knew what Halloween was or The Thing was, and then when I watched Halloween for the first, because I don't know if we've ever talked about that, but I'm not the biggest into slasher movies, and I'd seen The Nightmares, I'd seen Friday the 13th, and so I always put Halloween off because I knew it was one of those. But then sitting down to watch Halloween and how it's more of an artistic, like it's more suspenseful than it is gory. Like there's zero gore in it. It's all just for effect, right?
Yeah.
So having that just really, I adored that. And then you start seeing, Friday the 13th, they're copying Halloween, but they're not getting the aesthetic, right? I think Carpenter with Cundy, he was able to, the widescreen compositions and just, you'd reveal things in the camera that you weren't aware of. And that it unnerved you. And so it was a very unnerving horror movie instead of just jumping out and slashing throats open. So it kind of made you feel uneasy to the very end, where obviously, spoilers if you haven't seen it, like he just disappears. It's like, what? Like what's happening? Like it's just very odd and scary, not because of any gore or anything like that, just because of the atmosphere that it creates. And that made me fall in love with him as a director. And that's when I started watching The Thing and Assault on Precinct 13 and all these things. So Parker, I understand, like sometimes you don't notice the director or what he's doing because you're too caught up in things. So nothing wrong with that.
And and that's the thing about Carpenter is he was doing all sorts. He wasn't sticking to one genre. He was doing those the action films of Escape from New York and Big Trouble in Little China, and then but he started off with horror movies. With was it Dark Star was his first technical movie, which was considered like an Alien precursor, and then you had Halloween, The Thing. It's horror, but it's also psychological thriller. It's all different things.
70s paranoid thriller. Yeah.
Right. And so, I don't know why his name just didn't stick to me as Spielberg's did, because Spielberg was the same way. He was doing different things. He wasn't just sticking to one genre. He was, with Jaws, and then you have E.T., which is this like lovely family alien movie, but then he was doing, precursor to that was like the movie you just covered, Close Encounters, which is completely different. So
let me ask you guys a question then. Is it just because Spielberg is like so, he's relatable, right? But do you guys have covered a lot of horror movies on Dissect That Film? Is horror something that you guys have to grow into? You know what I mean? And you grow into horror later on instead of just having that be the addiction from the very, because you know what I mean? Like Spielberg is very like, you recognize things, and that's why I think you connect to him. But horror is a little bit different. I don't know. For me, I have to grow into horror. So I've appreciated horror the older I get. But when I was a kid, I didn't really like that stuff. I was more into the action, things like that.
Oh, I grew up with horror. I was surrounded by it. I loved it, but I was the type of kid who didn't go into like the deep cuts when it came to horror, like movies that people talk about and you're just like, what do you talk about? Like a lot of stuff that our friends over at Movie Dumpster cover, like movies I'm just like, I don't know what the hell is that? Like it's just very obscure stuff. And I was like, I was Nightmare, I was Friday the 13th, Child's Play, the core franchises that everybody knows. That was the horror I was, I grew up with and I was obsessed with. And so I've loved horror, but now as I've gotten older, I think I appreciate those more obscure ones. So I think I have like a different opinion on things, especially since starting the podcast. I definitely have different views on movies that I might have loved growing up, and maybe they just haven't held up, or maybe ones that I didn't enjoy back in the day, but now I watch them as an adult and I have a better appreciation of them.
Yeah.
This podcast has done some things to my brain, good and bad.
Right. Well, Dan and Angela, do you have like a history with John Carpenter? I'm interested, or with horror, or what's your experience? I'm just trying to figure out where he kind of became a fixture for you guys, if at all.
Growing up, I was obsessed with true crime and serial killers. So horror wasn't much different than that. So I was one of those that liked to be scared, hated being scared, but in the moment I was like, hey, this is cool.
Yeah.
So whenever I was I can't say that I wasn't allowed to watch certain things. It was, am I going to get away with watching this type thing?
Yeah.
So I watched a lot of stuff away from my family. So with friends, we were always watching horror. I still have issues with like ghost type stuff. So anything like Poltergeist and stuff like that. Like that still bothers me to this day, because I don't like hearing things like randomly. If I'm home alone, I don't want to know that there's something possibly in my house. But no, horror is like, I've been obsessed with it since I was a kid. So
yeah, I apologize if we covered this when we talked about The Conjuring. I don't know if we went into our history with horror or anything. So.
I don't think we did. We did. I actually didn't. I didn't watch anything horror. Like I said, I was a cowardice child. And still am, but it's I wasn't my thing. Like I liked like 50s, 60s monster movies. That was my thing. Like that's what I watched, and that's all I gave a shit about. I knew about The Thing, the 80s remake. I didn't watch it because my mom hated the movie. Like I watched the original The Thing from Outer Space. She loves that movie. I just blanked the actor's name that plays him in that. I know him. I could see him. James
Arness. Yeah. Uh-huh.
There you go. Thank you. But anyway, I was him and Peter Graves. Anyway, but I did, because my mom hated it. And no offense, Mom, you're probably not going to listen to this, and I love you to death. But that is like one of the worst opinions you ever had. Period. Yeah. But I love you, and that's okay. But it wasn't. Horror. That was none of that stuff was on my radar. I knew about Halloween. I knew about this stuff. I just never watched it. So that's just. It wasn't until I got older and I got more into horror. Like it started with zombie movies, and then went into other horror movies. Friday the 13th and zombie movies, and I've kind of bled into everything else for the most part. But
yeah,
John Carpenter was just there. Like he just ended up getting picked up with everything else as I moved in. So
okay. So basically, I have no idea why he didn't connect to Carpenter, but connected to Spielberg. So it's all subjective. We all come into movies different ways. It's the same thing with The Thing. Like the first time I saw it, I was kind of repulsed by it because I'm not into the gory stuff. But the older I get and the more I've revisited it, I just think that's I think that's maybe Carpenter's masterpiece. Just the way that the gore ties into the theme of the movie, which is you don't know what to trust. You don't know to trust your eyes. You don't know to trust what your gut reactions. And so when things mutate, that's actually ties in with, and I love that. I've grown to adore that about that movie. So we all grow into movies different ways, and so that's very understandable, I think.
It's Animorphs.
Animorphs.
Whoa, haven't heard that in
Listen,
forever.
So for those of you who are maybe younger listeners who don't know much about the thing, it's Among Us in outer space. I mean, not outer space, but it's Among Us the movie. It's Among Us the movie. That's it. That's all it is.
With some of the same gore effects, actually.
Yeah, absolutely. People just fall in half, and there's one bone inside. And that's
absolutely. Yep. Same thing.
Oh,
don't be scared of the thing. It's just Among Us.
Yep.
It is. It really is.
Who's us now?
So, Big Trouble in Little China, or also known as John Carpenter's Big Trouble in Little China. The thing is wasn't that only a thing if he wrote the movie? Because he didn't write this. I feel like that was why it was only called Big Trouble in Little China, where a lot of the other movies that had his name over the title was because he wrote it.
Well, it does show John Carpenter's Big Trouble in Little China in this. It just doesn't show it at the same time, maybe. I don't know.
Oh, okay.
But I just know all of his movies show John Carpenter's and then the name. It's kind of like an auteur kind of thing. Like, this is my movie, guys.
Yeah.
Damn it.
So,
you have none of the critics like it.
So, yeah, I don't know.
This is mine. Of course, this was directed by John Carpenter. It was written by Gary Goldman and David Weinstein. And from what I've read, he's not related to the other ones. Yes.
Yeah. So we can talk about this comfortably with them.
Yes, we can talk about this.
Yeah.
He, I guess, wrote a script for the 2002 Minority Report. I'm talking about Gary Goldman, by the way. I'm kind of backtracking here. And that's pretty much all I really seen from him. I guess in 2017, he filed a copyright infringement lawsuit against Disney over the film Zootopia.
Oh.
Because he's a furry? I'm just confused.
So
what's going
from what
on?
I've read, he pitched a concept to Disney for a live-action film entitled Looney, centered around an animator's creation of a TV cartoon called Zootopia. So pretty much just because of the name.
Just the name. Okay.
So they took the name.
Oh, get over
Sons
it.
of bitches.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was so in cinematography, Darin already mentioned, and Dean Cundy, who pretty much he was the cinematographer for most of Carpenter's stuff, correct? Like he did
5. Like this is his last one. I think he did Halloween, The Thing, Starman, I think. This one I don't know, I have to look, but this is his 5th and final one that he did. The Fog. I know they did The Fog because that's a very well shot movie.
Right. And he would go on to do Back to the Future trilogy, Jurassic Park, Apollo 13, Who Framed Roger Rabbit, bunch of other stuff. He's still doing stuff today. Like he's still killing it. I think his last, let's see, he did The Mandalorian was I think his last thing that he did.
Yeah, still a mainstay. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Our cast is Kurt Russell as Jack Burton. We have Kim Cattrall as Gracie Law. We have Dennis Dunn as Wang Chi. James Hong, the legendary James Hong, as David Lopan, sorry. Victor Wong as Egg Shen. Kate Burton as Margot Litzenberger. Donald Lee as Eddie Lee. Carter Wong as Thunder. Peter Kwong. Is it now? If it's Kwong, is it Kwong?
Yeah, it's Kwong.
Okay. Let's just making sure. As Rain. James Pax as Lightning. Susie Pie as Mai Yin, and that's about our main cast, sir. Oh, what did I just click off that for?
What have you done?
I don't know. It was released July 2nd, 1986. Oh, it's a 20th Century Fox movie. Why wasn't this on Disney Plus? Damn you! The music was done by John Carpenter, of course, and Alan Howarth helped out with the score. This ran at 99 minutes. Its budget was between $19 and $25 million, and it only took in $11.1 million because it was released 16 days before James Cameron's Aliens.
I don't think that was the reason.
That's a part of it. That's a part of it.
I think another part of it was the subject matter.
Well, there was the subject matter, and I guess Fox did not know how to market this film.
Absolutely not. It got really high scores in the previews, and they thought they had a giant hit on their hands. But yeah, Fox, just like you said, they had no idea how to market this thing, so they just kept it quiet, which is a shame.
Also, this would be the last time John Carpenter would release a movie through a studio.
Yeah,
He
it just
would go
soured him.
on, yeah, because it was too much interference, especially with this movie. But he also had a lot of interference with a couple of the movies before, and he was just tired of it. So he released his next two movies, Prince of Darkness and They Live, independently, but Universal would distribute them.
Yeah.
So he kind of had full creative control. Because as we go through this plot, there's some scenes that are added into this movie that Carpenter didn't want in the movie because it didn't make any sense because of
Makes sense.
the way the characters are portrayed and the way that things are done. I just never understand why studios do this.
Well, I think Carpenter, the way that it soured him, because he's very, very happy with this movie. It's not like he doesn't, he thinks it's great. Like he doesn't have any bad things to say about it. He's like, I got to make a kung fu movie. Like that's always what I wanted to do. How can I complain, right? But then just the way that they kept interfering and adding stuff and making, we don't understand this, and everything. It just kind of made him think like it's not worth it. I'm too old for this shit. You know what I mean? I can't deal with this heartbreak. And he just had the attitude of once you deal with executives at major studios, if your movie does not perform right out of the gate, they want to get rid of it as fast as they can. They don't want to, which explains the Tom Rothman kind of factor. If he wanted to just have movies that made their money all the first weekend, and who cares if the movie is shit, because people see it that first weekend and that's all the money that he needs to recoup his investment. So that's kind of the executive attitude. They don't let things grow. And looking back at what was it, Elemental and Godzilla -1, and I think the Hunger Games, just the way that they let those movies build, and they kept them in theaters. That was my favorite. Some of my favorite success stories all last year was they just kept things going, which learned from Top Gun Maverick, right? It's like keep things in theaters. People want to watch these things in theaters. Why would you not want to watch Godzilla, large and in charge, on the biggest screen possible, right? So I'm with you. I don't understand the executive, and we'll never understand it. It doesn't make any sense.
And on that counterpoint, I also want to see a bunch of like half-naked dudes play football on the beach.
Seriously.
Also on the big screen. Like, I mean, that's what we want to see.
That's what movies are for, right?
But no, I agree, dude. And if especially at the time a lot of those movies came out, like there wasn't this shit else out for the most part anyway. I mean, there's other stuff people probably enjoyed, but like, why not just keep them in theaters a little bit longer? What the fuck else are you going to do with it?
Yeah, and they have success stories, 3 solid success stories all last year, and they're still not learning. I don't understand these people. They're brain dead.
Yep.
So,
so originally Fox didn't want Kurt Russell as Jack Burton. I guess
really
Clint Eastwood was an option. I can't remember who the second option was, but
Stallone. No, just kidding. He did his own. He did that was Over the Top. That was his truck driving movie.
I think
Over the Top.
That's right. I think they wanted Eddie Murphy too, but one of the reasons they rushed this into production was Carpenter got wind of The Golden Child, because I think he was offered to direct that one, and they're very similar, like with the Asian mysticism, and so he's like, "Well, we got to get this movie out," and so they rushed production and they shot it within 15 weeks or something like that on a minimal budget. So, but Eddie Murphy was one of the options, but since he'd already been signed for Golden Child, they couldn't do that.
So it was Clint Eastwood and Jack Nicholson. They were the two options that
Jack Nicholson. That's strange.
That's who I would have pinned.
And of course, Carpenter had to kind of go with the choices, so he had to reach out to him. But I guess they were busy, and so he was able to cast Russell in the lead role. You know, he had already worked with Russell, starting with Elvis back in the late 70s. And this would be his 4th film he would work with Russell, and his final one was Escape from LA.
Yeah.
So they have a really good relationship. Let's say that.
Yeah.
So let's hop into this plot, because I bet you we're gonna be weaving some facts into the plot as we go along. So let's get into it. So of course it opens up with. Does it open up with the credits with that awesome song?
No, it doesn't.
Or
it goes right into the scene with Egg Shen.
With Shen, right? He's kind of he's talking to the police, or he's talking to somebody about the events.
It's a deposition of all things. Yeah.
And he's talking to him about the events of, the movie, and it's kind of this whole thing where the guy's talking about Burton, and he's offended by it. He's like, "No, Bert, you don't talk about Burton like that. Like he's a hero." Which this was the scene that Carpenter didn't want because it doesn't make sense. Like the way that Shen is talking about Burton doesn't make sense to how we see Burton throughout this entire movie. And it's just very odd because Carpenter pretty much just wanted to open up with Burton driving in his truck, doing his thing.
The Pork Chop Express.
Right.
Pork Chop Express, baby.
Yeah. That would have been, I don't know. I think everybody's of the opinion that that's the way to start the movie. Like having the thing in the deposition and then having Shen do the mysticism with the electricity. I think it gives away the game too fast.
Yeah.
Because what's great about this movie is that, you know, they ease you into it. It kind of gets weirder and weirder and weirder until like at the very end, literally they're playing like video games with their fingers kind of thing, right? It's like, it's so strange. And they've got like an eye creature, but it builds into that. And so I think that adding the scene, which again is very emblematic of studio thinking, they wanted to have Jack be the hero. But if you, again, like you were saying, if you look at the movie, Jack is not the hero. Something that I want to keep talking about is this was Jack Sparrow before Jack Sparrow was Jack Sparrow. He's a bumbling idiot you don't know if he's really capable a lot of the time, but he comes through when it really matters, that kind of thing. And he's a joke, but he's so fun to watch, but he's not the main character. And so the thing that the movie was like, this guy thinks he's the hero of a story, but he's not. He's the sidekick, right? And the you know, Wang is the hero, but so that's what's the really funny thing about the whole movie is that Jack has no idea that he's a secondary character. He thinks that he's the John Wayne guy, that he's in there in control, but we see over and over again that he's just an idiot, right? Which is just so funny. And I think, by pointing out that he's the hero, it's like that's completely tonally dissonant from the rest of the movie and the point you're trying to make. So even though that opening is kind of reminiscent of The Fog, where it has John Houseman coming in and telling you it's a ghost story, it kind of has the same kind of tone. But number one, like I said, I think it gives away the game. And number two, it's making Jack out to be, which I think makes it worse. He's not the hero. So you watch it, it's like, well, that's given the complete wrong picture of him.
He was just along for the ride. Like that's literally what he was. He was this, like, I mean, no offense. I don't know if anybody's going to be, you know, whatever about this. I felt he was just like, all right, we're going to introduce this heavy, like, I mean, maybe not heavy, but like this Kung Fu movie, but we want to give like a central point that an American audience can kind of follow along with. And he's like our guy. Like he's our like barometer, like guy through this thing that's just there for everything else happening. So,
yeah.
Yeah, so because it doesn't make any sense. I haven't seen this movie in probably over 20 years, so I was kind of seeing it with fresh eyes, and I was very confused by the time this movie ends because I was like, "What was the point of that opening scene?"
Doesn't
and then
that
I
say
read
something?
about right,
yeah,
like I'm expecting Kurt Russell to be this like complete badass. Like you see it, like even the cover of this movie is him holding that Uzi, like in front of Kim Cattrall. She's like it's kind of like it kind of reminds me of like I don't remember which Star Wars poster it was, but you know it's like Leia at Luke's.
That's
right.
But doesn't that say something that you don't? Every time I watch this, it's a shock to me, that first scene. I'm like, oh yeah, every time it's so strange.
It was so odd.
It's
and
like
then I read
two openings.
Yeah,
like you said, because there's the original and then that extra shit. You're like, oh.
Yeah, I read the fact about it. I was like, well, that makes a lot of sense now.
But it says something too that. Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead. No, go ahead. Your point's far more important than mine was.
I don't know about that, but it says something too that when Jack comes in and starts his voiceover, you completely forget about that scene because you're like, "Oh, this is the guy, right? This is."
Yes.
I didn't remember it until we started talking about this at the beginning. I was enamored with the fucking sandwich he was eating. I was like, damn, I want that sandwich. Like, that's a huge fucking sub, bro.
The sandwich and all the amazing advice he was given over the radio.
Hell yeah.
Just how much of a cartoon is he right out of the gate? Eating just this giant sandwich?
It's fucking so great.
Flying. Great. This man is driving 90 miles an hour in this big rig. Like, just giving advice to anybody. Like, it's a precursor to Joyride with Paul Walker here. So of course we see he's a truck driver. He goes down to the docks of Chinatown because I guess he does a lot of deliveries there. He gets into some games, does some gambling with some of the people there, and one of them is Wang, who would become one of our central characters. And he's not so good at the gambling, but he is good at the fighting. And pretty much we get this whole thing where he talks about how he's got a girlfriend coming over. He's gonna marry her. She's, beautiful and it's gonna change his world. And Burton's like, yeah, whatever. I just want my money, and so we're gonna drive to go get that money. So
Dude,
he
I'm
go
like
ahead.
watching this opening scene right before they start gambling. Like he's talking to somebody, he's dropping off, his load and stuff to that market. And I'm just like looking at this food, like he's just getting like dumplings from this one lady and shit. I'm like, damn. I'm just like relating with the food in this fucking movie. Like
It's the highlight.
Just like, I'm hungry.
yeah, I just ate, but I want the food.
I love the fact that he tries to cut the bottle in half as kind of like a double or nothing bet.
Mhm.
And he hits the bottle and just flies, and that's when you get the first thing where it's like, it's all about the reflexes.
Mhm.
Nothing or double.
Yep.
Yep.
That shows you that he's capable, right? He's like, again, I think it's tricking you into thinking that he's going to be the hero. It gradually
Yes.
just kind of. So I have a question for Angela though. It's like obviously Dan and Parker and I are super attracted to Jack Burton, but how do you feel about Jack Burton as like a hero? Is this like a sex symbol for you, like Kurt Russell? And I don't know, what do you think?
No, it's not. Sorry.
I think it's funny.
My wife can agree with us.
For the ladies and gentlemen that loved that,
Well,
Angela
apparently,
has eyes on Dan.
no, give me Baywatch. That was my
Hasselhoff.
Oh,
I love Hasselhoff.
Over
I was thinking
Kurt
SpongeBob
Russell?
the movie where they're riding
Oh,
Hasselhoff.
no.
Like that's
Oh yeah, I think it's just
Kurt
the mullet. Maybe the
Russell?
mullet's turning Angela off.
David Hasselhoff.
Maybe.
I hate bullets. No, it all has to do with. Was it your dad that said that Victor looked like a young?
It was
Kurt
Seth.
Russell?
He kept calling him Kurt
And now
because like
I can't not see it. So now every time I look at Kurt Russell, I'm like,
when Kurt Russell was, what was that movie? He was in an old Western when he was like really little or something. I can't think of some shit like that. And like I've seen pictures when he was young, and he really does favor, like Victor really favored him, like really did. So it's just kind of like some of my cousins still calls him Kurt to this day. So whatever that's worth.
So they go to pick up Wang's new girl, and
He has green eyes.
Yes,
remember that's important.
Yeah, but does he mention that?
He does in the
I think
truck.
he does.
Oh.
Yeah.
And
Like Milky Jade, I think he refers to it, or something like that.
like a jade
Creamy
dragon
Jade
or
or
something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, something like that.
And this is when we meet Kim Cattrall's character,
Gracie Law.
Gracie Law. Yep. I didn't know her name until she said her name 75 times in the matter of 15 seconds in a scene. A little bit.
She's a
later.
lawyer, mind you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
she's a
she's a
lawyer. And of course, Jack is, he sees her and he's okay. He's got to, try to bring his swagger. So he goes over there to talk to her, and she immediately like shuts him down. But then a Chinatown gang shows up.
This guy right here, he's like, is that the lady from Sex and the City?
I could tell when I seen her. I was like, oh yeah, she's from Sex and the City. You just know, like you just know her face. Like
You watch it when I'm not around?
Bonnie used to watch it a lot, actually. No, not particularly. I don't watch any television shows. Are you kidding me?
I don't know what you watch while you're at work.
Well, I'm at work. I work.
Sure.
Work. I just recognize her because she's got a very recognizable face to me. So it's like, oh yeah, it's her. And I seen her name at the beginning. I was like, that name sounds familiar. But
I guess during the filming of this movie, she had to like leave exactly at 4:30 every day because she was doing a
play.
a play at the same time, because she was mostly doing Broadway and stuff like that. But the only reason that she would take movie roles is because they paid. So she's like,
that's fair.
She's like, I had to survive, so I had to take these roles. So
yeah.
So a Chinatown gang shows up, and they are waiting for somebody. And at first, I think they're supposed to be taking the girl that Kim Cattrall's there for. So, but she was able to like take her quickly, so they end up taking Wang's girlfriend instead.
Because
And
it doesn't matter. They're just trying to kidnap a girl. I don't know how they get this girl on their radar, but they're just for the sex trade or whatever. They're just trying to grab anybody.
It's the green eyes, dude.
Yeah, so they just whatever. They just grab the second one. Yeah.
well, no, it wasn't because of the green eyes.
The other girl.
Yeah, it's what. Well, no, it's just what Darin said, because originally this girl was at the brothel, and then she gets taken by the three the gods.
The three storms.
That's right.
The green eyes plays into Lo Pang's kind of.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Sub-Zero, Ermac, and Rain. I got it.
So of course, a big chase ensues. Fighting. We kind of see that Burton's really not a fighter. Like, he's not much of a fighter. He holds his own for a bit, but he gets slapped around and then kind of is able to run out. Then he has to play chicken with a Thunderbird that's going 90 miles an hour in a parking garage. And I'm like, God damn, how did he even get to that speed?
Excuse me, sir. It's a Firebird Trans Am.
Oh,
first
off.
Well,
I was trying to find the car. I was trying to find the make and model of that car, and I was like, oh yeah, Dan would know. So yeah, great.
I'm so sorry.
It's got pop up and down headlights, baby.
Yeah.
I love those.
They're so good. I love them.
And as we get the line, son of a bitch must pay.
Must pay.
Yes.
So this is where we see Shen. He's driving his awesome 1936 bus.
Yeah, he is.
Giving his tours. And he almost gets run off the road by Burton's truck. The Pork Chop Express coming through.
Just in these little small side streets, right?
Side streets of San Francisco Chinatown.
Yeah.
Get out of the way!
I was already laughing my head off.
And he drives down this one street, and there's a funeral going on. And they're like, oh yeah, it's a funeral for, I can't remember the name of the two groups that fight, but somebody of importance died. They're doing this funeral for nobody, by the way. There's no one on the street other than Burton and Wang sitting in the truck, and they don't move. They're just there. They're like, eventually they're going to get to him, right? Like, they're just going to go around the truck. Don't worry. Another gang shows up, and a shootout ensues.
So there's something I do want to mention, and I don't know a lot about this. I know a little bit about this, and this is the serious time. Serious time. The good guys wear the yellow, and the bad guys wear the red. And in that particular fight scene, and somebody refers to them as the Yellow Turbans. And I don't know if this is a reference to the Yellow Turban Rebellion, which was a part of the Three Kingdoms era in China. I don't know if anybody knows anything about that.
Yeah, I think it's definitely a reference to that.
Okay.
At first, when he says it, I was like, "Is that racist? Like, did Jack just give a racist?" But no, I think it's more him kind of referencing that.
Okay, again, that's what I thought. And admittedly, I didn't know jack and shit about this, except for my cousins and I used to play like the Romance of the Three Kingdoms games.
Yeah,
like I played the first one on the NES, and then I went into like the Dynasty Warriors games, and that's where I learned about the Yellow Turban Rebellion. So that's like the first thing that came to my mind. So if anybody listening to this knows anymore, please let us know. But I don't know.
Right. So it's the Chang Sing and the Wing Kong that are the two different factions that are fighting against each other.
I just found it, and I was like, I wanted to mention it, but you mentioned it, so yeah.
Cool, thank you.
But again, it does that cool thing of color coding, so you know exactly who's who, right?
Which is great. It helps. It does help.
Yeah.
So this big fight ensues, and it's crazy. It's just people flying around everywhere, and it's great. And then the three storms show up. So we have lightning, rain, and thunder.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, this is where I immediately go, oh, Ed Boon definitely watched this movie and went,
yes, he did.
I got some characters to create for Mortal Kombat in a few years.
Yeah, he did.
Because I mean, the hats that they wear, definitely, what would become Raiden's hat. One of them is literally, one of them is just a straight, like, Raiden is just ripped off of this guy.
Yeah.
Well,
that's the thing. Like, you make these movies and you don't know what kind of impact they're going to have. It's crazy that he's Raiden. It's like, that's cool. Like, it comes right from all these. Everything that we know basically comes right from this movie. Even if you've never seen this movie, it's crazy.
So we then also, so while all that's happening, Jack just decides he's just going to drive down the street while the fight is going on. And he ends up running into Lopan, who is just in the middle of the road and doesn't move. And I love that we get the fact that he is magic. So he is able to kind of move out of the way, or he was able to like go through the truck. But there's a dummy that the truck hits. That you get to that they didn't really edit very well. They're just like, no, you just see this dummy that's dressed like Lopez just.
Well, he's incorporeal. I think that's what they're saying is because he lost. I think he tried to take over like somebody else's kingdom, and so he ended up losing a fight, and so he was cursed with not having the body. I think you find all this out later, and we'll get to it. But like the thing with the dummy that's cool, and my kids, again, I watched this. I sat my kids down and I watched this because listening to a bunch of podcasts when we were doing prepping, I kept getting the from other podcasters, oh, my dad sat me down and watched this and made me watch this, and I've always loved it, right? And so I was like, my kids don't really love that. They're more into their Nintendos and their gaming and their YouTubers and things and their TikToks or whatever. And so I was like, I want to sit the kids down. I want to give them more of that experience of my dad showed me this crazy movie, and I've never forgotten it just because of how much he was cackling during or whatever, and all the things he was saying. So yeah, sitting with the dummy is one of the things that my kids laughed at, and the fun thing was I kept explaining to them, this is like, it's a wuxia. It's like, it's copying like the Japanese, not the Japanese, like the Hong Kong, the Jianxi kind of movies, the wuxia kind of fighting, the Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. That's where we know those things from.
Like the wire work and shit.
Yeah. But in those movies in the 70s and the 80s, they were very silly. Like you watch them now, they're very silly. I think Carpenter, his main influence is a movie called Zoo Warriors from Magic Mountain, which makes it sound like a Disney kind of movie, but no, it was one of these crazy movies from I think 1983 where Tsui Hark, a director that became very famous later on, he directed this movie, and there's a lot of similarities with this guy that's kind of like he's thrust into a situation, and he kind of gets caught up in a war between these two different factions who are color coded, and then he kind of gets, kind of soldiered in, like he gets branded into their fighting and everything. So that's where that came from. So again, him getting hit was silly, but it's like, well, yeah, but it's exactly what you would see in one of those 70s Hong Kong movies, right? Mm-hmm. All these movies that Five Fingers of Death or Swordsman of Mount Shock that John Carpenter kind of references, they're all of a piece with those movies. And so I think if you don't know what a movie is kind of satirizing, you know what I mean? It kind of comes off as silly, even though there's a point to it. So it's, and we'll talk about it because you're basically just expected to go along with whatever crazy shit is going on, right? Like you just go with it, right? And there's no real explanation. And we'll talk about it some more, but that's stuff that I know from my grandparents who came from Hong Kong, like the way that they would tell stories. It's exactly, you would just accept what they were telling you, like all these legends and stuff like that. So it kind of plays into that same idea. So yeah, again, that's just one of the things that I love about this movie, and a lot of things that people don't realize too. And sorry to keep talking, but originally I think the script, they wrote it as a Western. Did you guys know that? It was originally written as a Western, where I think the Jack Burton character was a cowboy, and he rides in this town and he gets his horse stolen. So instead of his truck getting stolen, he gets his horse stolen. And so Goldman and Weinstein, they wrote the script, and then when they sold it to, I think, Taft Entertainment Pictures, they didn't like the Western setting because it was too far removed. They hired another guy named W.D. Richter who directed and wrote Adventures of Buckaroo Banzai. Have you guys watched that one yet or had a chance to? Yeah, so same guy. So he actually did a complete overhaul. His idea of the movie was, it's too far. If you've got all this crazy shit that's going on and you've already placed it in the Old West, that's too far removed for audiences. They've got to accept that they're in the Old West. And now they've got to accept that there's this Chinese mysticism and all these powers going on. It's too far of a reach. So again, going back to that opening scene, just setting it with Jack, just doing the typical truck stuff, and then it gets weirder and weirder. I think that's a lot more identifiable as we're watching the movie, as opposed to it being set in the Old West and having to adjust our minds. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's interesting, the history of the movie and how it got to this point. But can you guys imagine it being... Again, it still plays like a Western. It's the same thing. Jack rides into town, gets his horse stolen, gets kind of ingratiated into this battle, and then he goes and fights the bad guys, the guys with the black cats kind of thing. It's that same kind of story. It's just kind of imported to modern times.
Yeah, I don't think it would have been much more. I mean, for maybe some people it would have been a lot more difficult to swallow. It's like a different odds, an unfamiliar setting and an unfamiliar time for most people.
Yeah.
But I think that's the wonderful part about the Kurt Russell character is he's us. Like he's us in this situation. We have with somebody we can relate with. Like, what the fuck's going on? I ran through the guy. It's like, don't worry about it.
Right.
Just go. Like, just fucking go with the movie. It's okay.
Well, it even ties in still if Snake Plissken is his take on Clint Eastwood. This is him doing John Wayne. This is absolutely John Wayne.
100%.
With his swagger and his speeches. It's just more of an idiot. So yeah, there's the Western thing is still there. Logan of all things was a Western, right? So it's just different kind of styles, even though it's not really set back in that same time. It has the same kind of attitudes and kind of plot driven stuff.
So with Burton hitting Lopan, of course Burton gets out and does exactly what Dan sees. It's just like, what the hell was that? What just happened? I just hit a guy and he's gone. But then Lopan comes around the back of the truck and like shows off his glowy eyes, like soul sucking power or whatever this is, and it like
Your
Wang
soul is mine.
and Wang gets him out of there.
Don't look, Jack.
Happens.
No, I already did.
Do you like how he splashes water? He's like, yeah, I can see it. It's so silly. It's so silly. I was just dying by that point. It was so funny. I don't know.
Tongue in cheek's great.
So this is when Gracie Law shows back up. And I love how she just comes back and she's like, it's just me, Gracie Law.
Gracie Law. As Jack is wearing like a kimono. Did you guys like that too?
Yeah.
He's so.
My wife's like, oh, look at that silk robe he's got on there.
They keep emasculating Jack. It's so funny that the character is written as a hero, but they keep emasculating him visually and with like his actions. Yep. It's great.
Yeah, and he's on the phone with who?
His company. Yeah.
That's what I thought. Yeah, he's trying to explain the situation. It's not going so well for him.
My truck was stolen by these 3 weather guys. Yeah, it's crazy.
They're like, oh yeah, that's you. Hey, you got the three god fucking insurance.
Let me write those down: thunder, rain, and I got it.
Oh, that third one though. Yeah, and she shows up, and everybody's like, "Oh hey, we know you." Yes, I'm Gracie Law. I'm Gracie Law. This is when you find out her name is Gracie Law because she says it 10 times in the matter of 15 seconds.
I love when they over-explain shit sometimes because you don't know. They're like, "What this?" and blah 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 blah. I'm like, okay. I mean, we don't know, so okay.
Well, Jack saying like I'm an outsider, right? What's great about this. And we'll talk about the Asian stuff. I don't really think of this as a racist movie because all the Asian characters are capable. All the Asian characters know exactly what's going on. All the Asian characters know who Gracie Law is. It's just Jack and the audience that don't know because she's been around. Like they know. Like the other real estate guy comes up like, "What's Gracie Law doing here?" I like how they have to say her whole name. But like, what's great is Jack is the only person. Again, he's our in, Dan, like you said. Like this is the guy that we're going to go with, right? Because he's caught up in these situations that there's already a history. This isn't happening for the first time with everybody, and so as an audience, we're trying to keep up too and just go with it. And I think there's a certain point. I don't know where it is for anybody else where you're like, yeah, whatever. Like let's just go. Like whatever. I'll just accept anything that comes across my face now, right? It's like that kind of thing.
Yeah, I was kind of with it from the beginning, like after we hit the Chinatown district, and then they pulled. It was the street section where he stops, and like the gangs just are like around his truck, and they're just sitting in the truck while this fighting and shit's going on. I'm like, all right, this is just how this is gonna be, and I was like, okay,
yeah,
I'm fine with this.
Yeah,
the truck doesn't even get hit by bullets. Like it's not even hit.
Yeah, because usually in those situations in other movies, the vehicle's getting shot up, the dudes inside are ducking for cover, but literally it's just Jack and Wang just in there like,
just don't move.
What the fuck is happening right now? Yeah, he's got his knife.
Sorry, Parker. You're saying about Kim Cattrall's performance?
It's very like 50s, like women in the 50s, like in movies from the 50s.
Carpenter is a huge Howard Hawks fan. That's where Assault on Precinct 13 came from. It's Rio Bravo. That's where, The Thing came from. Like that was a Howard Hawks production, right? So was a very big. So Kim Cattrall is doing the His Girl Friday stuff. She's got this rat-a-tat dialogue, and it just killed me because she would keep doing these. I don't have them written down. I was trying to do that, but I forgot. But she has these long expository explanations that she just gives within 1 second, and they're so funny because she's giving you this whole history, but she's doing them so fast.
It was the one for me was Lo Pan. You mean Lo Pan, the head of this corporation? Blah 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 blah. And I was like, I mean, we don't know. We gotta know. I mean,
And after a while, you're just hearing it's like the when the adults talk in a Peanuts, cartoon. You're just like, wop, 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 wop. You're like, she's still going, guys. She's still saying things.
But she does it so fast in that Hawksian way that it's so fun. It's so fun to listen to her.
Well, yeah, because it fits perfectly in with, as you were stating, Jack's like John Wayne isms, where he is very much projecting John Wayne in his performance in this with the way he talks and the way he acts. But he's also doing his own thing with the fact that he is a fish out of water. He doesn't know what the hell's going on. He's not equipped for the situation. He's not trained for the situation, which I think is what's great about his character, where the marketing and everything kind of made it out like he was a badass. Like Jack Burton is a badass. I mean, he is a badass in a way, but not in the way that I think a lot of people expected him to be.
Right.
He seems like that cool fucking dude that hangs out at like a small town bar and like everybody knows who he is. That's who he reminds me of.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, such and such. Like, everybody knows him. Like, it's kind of one of those things.
It's the showboat, right? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So they come up with a plan that they need to send Jack into the brothel to talk to the White Tiger to get Wang's girlfriend back.
Mm-hmm.
And so he goes in there all I love this outfit. I guess he wore this outfit in another movie he was in.
It's used cars. I looked at it's not the exact same outfit, but it's the same kind of brown jacket with the brown tie. It's meant to make you think that. It's a fun tie-in. But he comes in, he's like, Henry Swanson's my name, and excites him. It's so funny. Like he's just putting on another character. He's just going with it, right? He's part of the plan now. And it's just I don't know. It's like, it's not deductible, is it? Like he's just so funny. I don't know. It's just great.
I love that part with him all like straight laced, like nerded up, I guess, geeked up.
Yeah, and he's got that. He even changes his voice. It's
great,
so funny.
And he's like, I'm looking for a girl a Chinese girl with green eyes, and the woman's just like, Chinese girls don't have green eyes. Is that a true fact?
It's odd. I don't I bet I've met Chinese women or Asian women with green eyes, but if the movie says that it's odd, then it's odd. You know what I mean?
Okay, all right. I didn't know if that was an actual fact.
Yeah,
it doesn't. I don't know. It just seemed hard to believe, but yes, we have to put it in the movie to make it flow. And so as he's in there, he gets found out, of course, and of course, like the head of the. This is the White Tiger, right? This is the woman who like runs the brothel. She goes to the room where Wang's girlfriend is.
Yeah,
but
because she's got green eyes. Yeah, she overhears that.
Yep. And then a big green ball of energy forms around the brothel, and that's when our three weather gods. That's what I'm going to call them. I'm sorry, I keep forgetting what the hell they are. But
same thing.
The three storms. That's what they are. Thunder, rain, and lightning. They just blast holes into the ceilings, drop down, and cause a lot of chaos, and end up taking the girl away
to the nether realm.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. I know, like, obviously
they're taking
watch this. I'm just like fucking Mortal Kombat, like all of it.
They're taking her to Shang Tsung, man. Like,
yeah, like here you go, dude.
Angela, were you lost by this point? Or were you like Dan? Were you going along with it? What was your
No. Like I had no idea what was going on. I just love the fights.
Yeah.
The fights, like, the practical work. Oh, so good.
I mean,
I have a general idea, but like I was just in it. Like I could getting into this. Like this is 100% a fish out of water story, and I fucking love it. Like I like the fact that we don't always know what's going on, but all these other people do, which is a thing that I've talked about in other movies is you don't always have to explain the before and the after and the 500 things around it in a story. There is going to be stuff that exists before and after and stuff that's not directly tied to it that's happening at the same time, and that's okay.
Yeah.
And I just like how this movie, even though it does try to force, there's like the expositions you talked about, but it's just, I think it's great.
It's a lot like the Buckaroo Banzai, where they it's like you're thrown into episode 20 of like a 40 episode stretch, right? You're just expected to go along with it. And to me, it's like, and again, my kids, it was fun one because they kept going, what the heck, and cackling because they didn't understand what was happening a lot of the time. And not that I was trying to over explain it instead of them just trying to enjoy it, but it's like, it's kind of like when you're a kid and you're told these stories, like you just accept it. When you're little and your mom is telling you bedtime stories, we just accept what we're being told, the Hansel and Gretel's and all that stuff, right? But as an adult, it seems like we need things explained to us. So it's hard when you're watching this movie not in a childlike mindset, because you're constantly, your brain is trying to make sense of everything and put pieces together logically. And that's not really what the movie's operating on. So when people don't really like the movie or kind of ingratiate themselves with it, it's understandable, because not everybody can. You know what I mean? It's hard to put yourself in that position. But to me, just that really hit me this time was just how much of you have to have that childlike approach to the movie in order to really appreciate it. And once you do that, it's just so much fun because you're just accepting anything that's happening, right?
Yep.
So
absolutely,
I don't know, it's tough.
I just love lightning getting pulled up by the lightning.
Oh, so cool.
Screw gravity.
If it's dark, twisted, and mysterious, then I want to dissect every possible explanation as to why it is. I want to understand the dark psychology of the most dangerous serial killers, from the day they were born to the moment they snapped. I want to examine every cryptic conspiracy and even delve into the haunted paranormal. Join me, Ashley Lana, as I explore the obscure. This is Lullaby the Fear podcast. Sweet dreams are made of these.
So everybody regroups and they pretty much figure out it is David Lopan. He is kind of like the head honcho around this parts. And so they got to go pay him a visit. And it was you get the line of like, Jack, you ready? He's like, I was born ready. All right, here we go.
Dude, best part of this is my favorite fish out of water moment. It actually isn't Gracie Law that does it. It's the other girl that he meets that does the David Lopan, blah, 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 blah. Because after this whole scene, they go back to, I'm assuming it's Wang's place.
Yeah.
I don't know whose house. Yeah, they go back wherever. And they lay
it's
down
his uncle's.
Jack.
It's his uncle's restaurant. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they give him like the glass of milk, and then it's all the other main characters. It's Gracie. It's Wang. It's this other girl that comes in, and the guy they're talking. They do the whole Lopan, blah 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 blah, and then like Jack Burton's response is like, "Who the hell are you?" And like this other girl just came in out of fucking nowhere. He doesn't know what's going on. Everybody else does.
Yeah.
No clue. And I was like, awesome. That scene encapsulates this whole fucking movie for me.
Yeah, it's great.
I'm trying to find it, but the interior of the restaurant or the of Wang's uncle there was used in another movie. It's like the same interior shot as another movie. I had it. I wish I wrote it down.
Well, Carpenter says at one point during the commentary, like, "Oh, this set right here, I just saw this in a porn movie I watched the other night." He just drops
all
that.
Right. Hey, man, respect his honesty. All right?
That's right.
So Burton,
did you find out what porn movie it is, though?
Yeah, look that up.
I mean, they were all running out of a brothel.
It was that, yes.
So they come up with this plan. They're going to go visit Lopan. And so Burton and Wang go into his warehouse. And they find a secret door behind this wall. And there's an elevator there. And it only goes down.
It's down, yep.
Well, it doesn't go so well for them because it starts to flood to the point where they had to force
that happened to me the other
elevator
day.
door.
Yeah.
I was just going to my doctor's appointment, man. What the fuck is this?
God, these down elevators are always rough. You just pass through a sea, underground lake.
Well, the part that
pit of hell.
The part that you're getting to, Parker, where they swim out and there's all those bodies. I thought that was a very Raiders of the Lost Ark moment. You know, remember when Marion's kind of trapped in the cave and she gets cut with all the dead bodies that seem like they're alive, but they're not. I just think it's so fun that this movie's taking things from other movies, like you could recognize other pieces, but then other movies take pieces from this movie and they pass it on. It's so fun seeing something kind of weave into something that weaves into something else, and so it just kept happening for me.
Yes, I remember Dr. Jones's adventures. Sure, I do.
Yeah, see?
Dan loves Indiana Jones.
I don't hate him. I just haven't seen him.
That'll change.
That'll change. Maybe. It's a hard baby, all right?
Yeah, but it's of course, again, Jack's reaction to these upside down dead bodies is it's genuine. Like, it's
where the hell are we?
Like, what is this? What the fuck? Like, it's just genuine. Like, all the entire time, this movie should just be like, what the fuck is happening? I'm so confused.
Yep.
Jack Burton.
Yeah.
It's just him reacting to just new things. That is like, what?
Yeah, if you watch Jack, you're gonna have like you keep saying, that's our way in, right? If you watch Jack's reaction to everything, that's exactly how you're supposed to react. Just follow in his footsteps. Don't try to be ahead of him. Like, just experience things as he's experienced them. I think you have a better experience.
Oh yeah. Well, they both get caught, and they get magic tortured, as I like to call it, where Jack is tied to the wall and he just keeps getting like magic attacked.
Bouncy balls thrown at him.
Yeah.
Oh,
I don't even think he's tied to the wall. He's just standing against the wall, and then
just keep throwing.
Rain keeps they keep throwing these things at him. It's great.
And Wang must have gotten it bad because he is like dead in that chair. He is just like, he has gotten the brunt of it. And this is where I don't remember which one of the three storms it is.
It's Rain.
Is in the scene. Is it Rain? Okay.
Yeah, it's Rain, because he whips off his hat, his hair, and his hat. His hair. And my daughter was like, "Oh, he's got pretty hair."
He's got a glorious mane right there.
L'Oreal.
Holy shit!
Oh, damn it! The blonde-headed heartthrob from all the books.
Oh, Fabio.
Yeah.
Fabio.
It's Fabio.
Yeah, there you go.
The Asian Fabio. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, so they are paid a visit by a corpse that is Lopan. He's looking rough, guys.
Isn't
what the hell happened?
Isn't James Hong great? Like
he is one of my favorite actors.
Yeah.
Of
my
all
second oldest was like, I recognize his voice. Where do I recognize his voice from? And I'm like, imagine him as a goose. And he's like, oh my gosh, that's Poe's dad. I'm like, yeah. Like, and from then on, you just hear it. But that makeup is so great because at times it feels like he's a marionette. Like, it's so gross and weird. You know what I mean?
He's the Asian crypt keeper.
Yeah, it's really effective. You can tell that Hong is having a great time.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
he's almost having as much fun as Kurt Russell's having.
Yeah. Oh man, but yeah, he pretty much explains his curse to Burton and Wang about the fact that he was cursed and he can't. He's pretty much cursed to live forever in this like decaying body, but he can transform into this god. But he can't physically touch anybody.
Like he's a ghost, right?
Right.
Did you guys pick up too when he's talking and he says, "This place is my tomb," like I'm kind of trapped here? That's very Agent Smith from The Matrix. They have that where he's torturing Morpheus. He says, "I hate it here. I'm trapped here. I have to smell all these things. Like, why do I have to be stuck in here with you?" Right? So it's, again, I was like, wow, how many movies are taking... how many movies are being influenced by this movie and incorporating them into their own movie? Even though The Matrix, I think the whole movie does that, but it was kind of fun hearing that same dialogue, kind of with the same camera angles of him like leaning in and talking to this guy and these guys in a chair. And then isn't it great how Jack keeps calling him Dave? He's supposed to be his friend. He keeps calling him Dave. Oh, I was cracking up. So funny. That's the swagger on him.
Oh, it's so good. Every time like Lil Pen would say something, in a serious tone, Jack would just be like, maybe you're just crazy. Like maybe you're maybe there's like a straight jacket thing you need to be fitted down at the local crazy house. Like
right.
just constantly giving him something. But he mentions the fact that he needs to marry a woman with green eyes in order to break the curse, kind of become mortal again, or at least be able to be in a body.
That's mummy. That's very The Mummy from the
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. God, I can't wait to talk about that movie. The rest of the group shows up though, and they get a tour, but it doesn't last very long because Thunder shows up. Fucking Thunder, and that tour lasts a whole 5 seconds because they go to the elevator and the gas goes off.
Yeah, I like how he's just smoking the cigar, and they're like, "Yeah, that's weird. Do you smell anything?" Like they're just out, just like that. It's so
he just walks out. He's just like, "Go deal with that." And it's like 4 women that have to go in there and clean up the mess.
Sorry, just as another aside, the guy that plays Thunder, Carter Wong, he's an actual grand master. Like he's a kung fu star. Like he's looking through his filmography. He's been in, it seems like 100 movies even before this movie started. Like he's I'm trying to read my notes here. Like he studied with the Grandmasters, the Dragon style, the White Bow style, the Choi Lee Foot style from the age of 10. At 17, he practiced under a red belt Grandmaster. And now he's a Grandmaster himself of like karate and kung fu and taekwondo and hapkido and all these things. And I hope I'm pronouncing that right. But like, yeah, he's a major, out of all those guys, he's a major star. Like they you know who he was if you knew Asian cinema at all. And so I think Kurt Russell says in the commentary, when you see him with his shirt off, it's unnatural. Just from
he is a specimen.
Yeah.
So Jack and Wang are brought up to this room where Jack is able to cut himself loose and then of course cut Wang loose, and they're able to like get the rest of the group back together and get the hell out of there. This is where Wang kind of gives the story about, his kind of legend about black magic, black sorcery, and all that stuff. And that kind of, Jack is still just sitting there. What are you talking about, bro? Like, what is this? Like, his reactions are just so good. It's
priceless.
And Kurt Russell just plays it out so well because you could fake a reaction. And you could tell it's like, oh, okay, that's not so genuine. Like Kurt Russell, it's like he is really finding out these facts in real time. Like,
yeah,
there's really magic, man.
And he's still not okay with it, right? It's like I was saying, when my grandparents or my kids listen to my mom telling stories, like my mom recounted the story of Mulan to them a little while back, and the crazy things that happen in these legends. It's like you just go with it, and it sounds better coming out of your grandma's mouth than it does like in a movie, right? But it's just It has, again, it's got all these. It's just the way you approach this movie that's going to really determine how you come away like liking it or not, right? I think me growing up and having these stories told to me, it just had that same kind of. But again, you're like Jack. It's like, yeah, this is ridiculous. Like, come on, but that's good that he's there because he's us. We keep saying that. So,
absolutely. So they escape, but they have to deal with Thunder because he shows up and he shows us his power that he can blow himself up like a balloon because he literally sits there and like becomes bigger. And Wang kind of tries to fight him, but it doesn't work out so well. And it knocks Jack out of the door in the wheelchair and he goes backwards. I love this. He goes, and I just love it. He goes by the other two. I think it was Eddie and Wang.
Yeah.
And he's just, his face is like, as he's like wheeling backwards. And he almost visits Samara from The Ring as he almost falls into a well that's just there. Yeah.
Did you know when they were shooting that he wasn't on an incline? They were just pulling him back straight. And the way that the set was designed, it looked like he was going down, but he wasn't. He was just being pulled straight back. So there's a little less danger. But it was like, yeah, that's cool, man. Like, you tricked me. I love that stuff.
No, I wanted it to be actually down an incline. I wanted the day to open up as a crew meeting or like a meeting for the day to be like, all right, and Kurt, we're we're gonna push you down in a wheelchair backwards. And he's like,
you're going to be strong enough to pull yourself back up, right? You're going to be strong enough to do that.
You're gonna
right?
crash into a well. You're not gonna fall in the well, but you better pull yourself up or you're gonna fall in that well.
This doesn't seem safe. We only got one take. Go. Yeah.
Oh man. So Lopan transforms into his sorcerer form.
Yep.
What a cool effect. Wasn't that
so cool?
Were you guys blown away by that? It's so gross. Like it just, I think the way that, because we talked about him looking like he's being marionetted, when he starts to glow, it doesn't seem like they've cut to a dummy, because he's looked like a dummy this entire time. So when his hand starts glowing and then his face, I'm like, oh, what a cool effect. Like I would, if the rest of the movie sucked and looked low and so low budget, but they just had that one effect, it would completely sell me. I thought that was great.
It's fantastic, especially when he goes from that old form to the sorcerer form. You're just like, oh no, is he gonna blow up? Like what?
Yeah,
what's going on here?
Yeah,
but yeah, he becomes the sorcerer form. And the other thing, man, I'm not a big fan of long nails. And he's got the two long nails on the side, which there's a funny ass scene later that he uses those nails, and I still can't get it out of my head. But when he's old, he has the nail too, but it's like nasty. And then when he gets, becomes the sorcerer, he's, a lot cleaner looking. But this is where he goes and visits. What is Wang's girlfriend's name?
Shaolin,
the one that is captured. Is it okay?
Is that her name?
It's Mao. Isn't it Mao? I don't know.
No, it's Miao Yin. Miao Yin is her name.
Okay, I'm gonna forget that.
Just say Wang's. It's Wang's fiance.
It's Wang's. It's Wang's. Wang's girlfriend, Wang's fiance, as I've been saying already. She's just floating there, and Lopan goes over to look, and this is where you kind of see for the first time that he can't physically touch her. So this is why he needs to get married. So we're then back with Jack and the gang, and we see Jack kill a guy, definitely for the very first time. I love what he's asked. It's like, is this the first time you've ever killed somebody? And he's like, no.
Yeah.
It's like, it is. Because the way he shoots that gun, that's somebody who's never shot a gun before.
No, he's like safety. He's like,
But the way he's like holding the gun and the way he like does the movements with it, I'm like,
he's not even holding it with one hand. He's not ready for the kickback. Like it just, like he wasn't even aiming at the guy. It was luck.
And this is when people are very confused watching the movie, going, "What? I thought, wait, he doesn't even know how to use a gun."
Well, the guy knows his way around a knife. He's just not a gun guy.
Well, we missed too. There was a great gag where it's what was the name of the crap? I can't remember. The other guy that's helping Eddie, right? The other
Eddie,
business.
yeah.
There's that great gag where they're all standing together, and like Eddie's got the shotgun, and like Wang has the machine gun, and then Jack has the and they start passing it around, and so finally Eddie ends up with the handgun, and he's like, this physical comedy there is just so great. That could have been a boring, just a boring exposition scene, but they added that kind of physical comedy. I thought that was really funny and charming.
Yeah, because of course, like Jack comes up against the gun that like at that time was probably considered the most badass one.
Yeah, the one.
And so you're like, yeah, that for Jack, and then of course the whole thing with the shotgun and the pistol. Yeah, that was good.
Again, we're coming down to the emasculating him with he doesn't know how to shoot this gun, right?
Yeah,
so great.
It's a Tech 9, by the way. I had to double check. I thought that's what it was, but it's a Tech 9. Nobody gives a shit. I care.
I thought it was
so now we know you're an expert on cars and on guns. So if I ever have any questions, like doing research,
not an expert. I just recognized the form, unique one. I was like, "Is that a Tech 9?" I had to Google. I was like, "Yes, it's a Tech 9." So.
Cars are what he points out the most in movies. Yeah. He could care less about the movie, but he's like, oh, "It's this car," and I'm like, "Okay, we're watching this movie."
I got it from my dad. It came honestly, so I can't lie. So once we do Gone in 60 Seconds, shit, it's gonna rock. That's for your 70s one. Do the original one.
Yeah.
Good shit.
Yeah, it is. Great, good stunts in that one. Awesome. Mm-hmm. So many ideas. This is why I come on the show, just so I can have ideas for my show. I'm just stealing.
You can have ideas like don't do 1973 or 1974 Gone in 60 Seconds. There you go.
Yeah, there you go.
Ignore that movie.
So Wang and Eddie fail in their attack to rescue the ladies because they're still being held. I love how what's her name? The one woman is just free sitting in the cell.
Mitzi just
and then,
just writing.
Yeah. And then Gracie Law is like in some sort of hog tank or hog tie
Well,
here. Like,
what's funny
what
about that
the-
is they actually shot a scene where she was bad mouthing her the guys that are taking her hot.
okay.
So they tie her up. But when you see her like that, it's obvious why they tied her up, right? Because she just kept over and over again. I'm Gracie Law. I'm Gracie Law.
Yeah.
I'm Gracie Law.
Like,
So they just tied her
Oh
up.
my God. And we don't care.
Shut the fuck up, lady.
It's a great gag because we know exactly why she's tied up like that, and Mitzi is not.
Yeah. So Jack is able to get in there and set everybody free.
Sorry, not Misty.
and-
It's Margot. I said that name wrong. It's Margot.
Yeah, Margot. And they are able to escape by jumping into the water, and then there's like a tunnel under the water there. And this is where you get the scene where Gracie Law is standing there, like looking for Jack. Like, you know, she's like Jack, and then she like picks it up, and it's, you know, Eddie, and then she does it again, and it's Wang, and she's constantly doing
where's
it.
Jack?
To the point-
Beats me.
Yeah.
Goes back under.
Well, I think the gag is like she says she pulls up the first guy. Where's Wang? I don't know. And like he gets, and then she pulls up. There's Wang's like, where's Eddie? I don't know. So and then Eddie pops up.
Yeah.
Where's Jack? It's such a fun gag. Again, they don't have to do that. But they do. And then she gets to Jack. Oh man! And then is that the part where they kiss? Like he kisses her for the first time.
Yeah. And she's like, what?
I'm just glad to be alive.
So they go up and they're trying to escape, but they open up a door and everybody's there. And
What a line!
like
is that the one where they go to the door and he's given the plan? We're gonna do this. I'm gonna have you run in and stuff like that. And he goes, "You ready?
Yep.
We're ready." Opens the door. Everybody's there. He closes it.
Yeah.
We might be trapped.
Everybody run and hide. He only saw me.
Oh man, so
this
many
is where
lines.
this is where you see Jeff Amata, who is a very famous stunt choreographer, stuntman. He's done stuff for many years. He still does stuff today.
Yeah.
But this is where he kind of gets like a pretty decent looking role.
Yeah.
And Al
but yeah,
Leong
he's-
is one of the gang members there. The guy that showed up in Die Hard and Lethal Weapon. Like he's again.
Oh,
if you,
yeah.
you want some Asian like goons or Asian tough guys, you get Al Leong, right? So you get him to be in there.
So he's like he looks like he's kind of like the leader of this group. And this is when we get kind of another scene of Jack kind of being useless. Like he pretty much uses all of his ammo in a matter of seconds and then runs away. And Wang is the one to go around and beat the shit out of everyone in the room.
Yeah.
He drops his knife. He pulls it
He
out.
does,
He throws it on the other
he
side.
doesn't just drop it; it flips out of his hand.
Yeah.
He
By
has
the time
to
he
go
comes
get it.
back, Wang's taking care of everybody, and he's like,
Yeah. And again, you're as an audience member, you're like, huh?
Do something.
so good.
Yeah.
Oh man. And this is when they're about to escape, but Gracie Law gets pulled in by a very hairy hand. I love
or an orangutan or something like that. An orangutan,
it's-
like man, beast, who knows?
It's the thing from Creep Show, the thing from under the stairs. That's what
Yeah.
it is.
Okay.
So the effects work on this movie was done by Boss Film Studios, led by Richard Enlund, who did all the effects works on Ghostbusters.
Yep.
So yeah, very much you could see the similarities in kind of some of the design work in the creatures. But yeah, I guess this was something that there was like Carpenter and Richard Enlund, they kind of didn't see eye to eye in a lot of
Butted
stuff.
heads.
I guess Enlund was only given $2 million for the effects, and which he didn't think was enough to do what Carpenter wanted.
Mhm.
I guess Carpenter wasn't completely satisfied with the effects work on the movie. I think it looks fantastic. I think like
Yeah.
especially this creature here, which I don't think has a name, but
Mm-mm.
I think this looks really good. And then when we get to our many-eyed friend,
The flying eye
that looks-
guardian, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, the effects work in this movie is really fucking good. So, kudos to Enlund and Boss Film Studios on that. But yeah, everybody else escapes, and of course they don't really realize it until they're escaping, and you know they're like, "Oh, where's Gracie?" And it's like, "Oh shit! Well, here's our reason. We gotta go back." Also, the fact they didn't get Wang's girlfriend either. So
yeah, they failed. They failed at
Yep.
their mission, right?
So Gracie is
it's
locked up.
interesting because I made the Pirates of the Caribbean reference earlier. And there's, I don't know if you remember, but Pirates of the Caribbean is they go to what Isla de Muerta, is that the name of, I can't remember the name of the island, but they go there to do the ritual, and then they get Elizabeth off, and they get back on the ships, and they do that whole thing, and then they go back to the island again. Did you guys notice that? Where they, in Pirates, where it kind of resets? And so I've always had an issue with that in Pirates, because it's like, well, why didn't you just write it so that they stayed on the island? Why'd you have to go away and then come back? It seems kind of redundant. But the fact that they do it in here, like the structure of Big Trouble in Little China is very strange, because it's literally Jack shows up, they go to the airport, he's roped into this adventure, they go to the White Tiger, they go to this other place, they fail, they regroup, they go back to the new place with the rituals, and so that's where it ends. It's a very lackadaisical structure. I just thought it was funny that Pirates of the Caribbean has the same kind of feel as this. It's just they're throwing everything at the wall to see what sticks. It's that kind of movie, right? You've got all this weird stuff happening. And Big Trouble in Little China is the same thing. It's funny that you've got the Jack Burton character, who's a lot like Jack Sparrow, who comes through when it counts, but he's also a bumbling idiot. But then you're kind of matching the structure and the tone of the movie, the kitchen sink tone. I don't know. I just thought that was really interesting watching it this time. I was like, this is Pirates of the Caribbean. This is where Pirates of the Caribbean comes from. But we all love and have seen Pirates of the Caribbean. You know what I mean? So it's just interesting kind of seeing where everything kind of feeds into other things.
Yeah, that's definitely a connection I didn't make, but the fact looking back, and I love Curse of the Black Pearl, but yeah, that is one of those things where you're just like, what the fuck are we doing here? Like, we're here, we're doing all, it sets up all of this exposition and this, like, what is going to happen when this happens, and then she gets taken back, and then it's like, whoop. It's like you could have cut that entire thing.
Yeah.
That entire first.
Figure out a way to write it so they stay there. It doesn't seem as redundant.
Right. So I definitely see this being very, Pirates of the Caribbean kind of taking what this did and incorporating into it. But kind of when I'm watching this one, I'm more interested in the fact that they have to go back, because I like the world of what's inside this building. Like, I like the sets and everything that's going on in here, and we're like, I love Pirates, but it was like, okay.
In here, it's the same. It has the attitude of, well, we're just going along for the ride. Whatever, movie, throw whatever you want at me. And so when they go back, it's not a problem, because, we're already having such a silly time. Why not do this? But Pirates is a little bit different, because I think we took Pirates a little more seriously. I don't know if that's so we noticed that it's a little more jarring when we're watching Pirates of the Caribbean.
Why were we doing that? Why were we taking Pirates of the Caribbean so seriously?
Yeah. We're just buying into it. That reminds me too, where Jack finds out for the first time that his former partners are now skeletons in the moonlight, right? He's like weirded out by it. It's the same kind of idea where this guy's yanked into a story that isn't his own, and he's kind of has all this weird shit thrown at him, and he's kind of just going with it. It's the same kind of attitude, just maybe with a bigger budget next time.
I think that there was also a big difference that this movie is very much like, it goes at breakneck speed. Like, it's just it's constantly doing something. There is no lull period. There's no slowdown. There's no just like, let's sit around and talk for 5-10 minutes. It's like, when we do get those group talks, it's very quick. We get like a little bit of an exposition dump, and then we're back to the action, or back to just doing something.
Howard Hawksian dialogue.
Where this movie is an hour 39, where Pirates of the Caribbean was over 2 hours. So
I'm sure you guys could clock it, where every time there's a different plot point where we're onto something different. Like, it's probably every 5 or 10 minutes. It never feels like it's dragged out. It's very quick. It's a quick movie.
It's one of those movies where it was hard for me to take notes, and like, hopefully, I hope I don't look down for a second and miss something important, which I usually do, because that's just how it works. But this is definitely a movie you have to constantly paying attention, because things are just kind of switching at such speeds. Wild. So Lopan pays Gracie a visit, and he finds out that she's got green eyes. So he's gonna marry her too. Double wedding.
He's instantly a villain because he's a polygamist. So, like,
Exactly.
literally, like, he's just...
Well, I think he also makes the plan that he can have his body, but now he's got a girl that he can kill, but a girl that he can also marry. So it's the best of both worlds, I think.
Listen, have you seen commercials for that fucking Sister Wives show? That guy sucks.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That guy fucking sucks.
My wife was addicted to that show when it was on, and that guy's a piece of shit. Like Cody, I think is his name, and he's just
awful.
He's off the deep end now.
So everybody groups up, and it's time to go back in because we were already there, but gotta go back. This is where Gracie finds Wang's girlfriend and Lopan, or at least the other version.
Right.
This is because when he first meets her. Right, he's not in his sorcerer form, right? He's in the old man form, and then so
he's got that weird thing where he's like, do, like he's playing with her face. It's it's so weird, so funny.
The noises he makes are so good,
and she's trying to give her exposition. She has to slap his hand away because he keeps interrupting her. It's a fun kind of playing off of each other.
It's so funny.
But the heroes, we have Egg Shen with them now, right? And then a bunch of the other guys from the...
Yeah, they got some people from one of the gangs, I think. Because it's one of those things where they, like, a few of them come in and they react to it. They're like, oh, shit! Like, shit's about to
the yellow
down.
turban guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, they had to stop at Egg Shen's because he had to get some stuff. He's he's gearing up.
So she had to move and change his name to Walter Chang, and then he moved to Nevada.
That's right.
Yeah, and fought those fucking graboids.
That's right.
Yeah, baby.
Yeah,
that's right.
Which is funny because it's the Chang Sing that's the good guy. So he becoming Chang, and it's maybe he adopted it. I don't know. That's interesting kind of think about.
There's a connection.
But he has like a way to go to Lopan's from like underground.
Yep.
Yeah. And the sets in the sewers are insane.
Yeah.
Like, what fucking sewer is this? Like, there's like a city down here. Like, it's actually like pretty fucking cool.
Yeah, that's John Lloyd. He worked on The Thing, created the sets for The Thing. He also created the sets for this. And again, that's I think where a lot of the budget's going. They only have maybe 3 or 4 locations, but the locations look very cool and they're very like they envelop you. So especially this underground kind of thing.
Because pretty much my note just states like the sewer just feels like another world. It doesn't feel like
it does.
Yes, it does.
I'm like waiting, like I'm not waiting for an alligator to come out of here. I'm waiting for a fucking dragon to just like come out of the water and just do something.
Yeah.
It's the black blood of the earth. Oh, you mean oil? It's the black blood of the
earth. What was that creature that comes out and snatches one of the guys? And it's like, And then Egg does the thing where he's like, he won't come out again. And Jack's like, what won't come out again? What won't come out?
Oh, because he throws like the little like bomb into the hole. He's like, he won't be coming back.
Don't you guys love how it's still giving us weird things? Like it doesn't stop. Like it keeps giving us, and the Eye Guardian hasn't even shown up yet.
But that's and the crazy thing is that creature that comes out of the wall and snags that guy, you don't see it again. Like it doesn't show up ever again. It's just like that's it. But it's just enough where it's like we cared for that moment in time, but we're gonna forget about it down the road. Oh man. We then cut to Thunder giving off some demonstrations of his just sheer manly isms as he's just fucking and just doing all the stuff.
Yeah, he is.
Just showing off, man. This man is impressive.
Again, very emblematic of those wuxia kind of the kung fu movies. It's that kind of showboating kind of thing where they would do that instead of just getting down to brass tacks.
So intense. Like I'm just watching the movie and I'm just like, I'm scared. Like this man could just break me into pieces. I would look like the dude from Resident Evil gets hit with the lasers. I just turn into cubes. Like that's what Thunder could do to me. All right.
Right.
I mean, Lopan's impressed by flying sword tricks. Because I think it's Rain who comes out with the sword, right? He's the sword guy.
He's the next
and
guy.
He's just and his thing is just flying around with the sword, just fucking foo. And I'm just like, holy shit. I'm so enamored in this. I'm like a small child seeing something for the first time. Just like, wow.
My daughter was like, "What is this?" And I was like, "Just admire the skill." That's all.
Oh yeah, and this is when he announces that he's marrying both the women, and everybody's like, "Hey." I don't really like. No one
Why not?
cares, to be honest.
Yeah.
Woo, boss is getting a 2 for.
Yay! A lot of people are just like, I can't even get one. This motherfucker's got 2.
I know, right?
Well, he had to steal them.
They don't know that. No, they do not. They're 100%. They know that. And also you notice that Gracie and Wang's girlfriend are in a trance. Like their eyes are all whited over, and yeah, they're kind of like following everything. This is when, because don't they like grab onto the sword and they like fly away? Like,
well, they're not. I think it's later when Gracie wakes up. It's the next scene where she wakes up in that the other little room and she tries to wake up the girlfriend. But this part, it's funny because when you watch this movie on Blu-ray in high definition, the actress, Kim Cattrall, and the actress that plays the girlfriend, they did not have green eyes. And so when you get high definition looks at their eyes, you can kind of tell that they've just got contacts.
Yeah, because I guess they both had brown eyes.
Yeah, it's Susie Pye is the actress, so you can tell she doesn't have green eyes either. But again, on high definition, that wouldn't be an issue.
My next note. So there's the whole thing with I guess like killing the evil dream. Like there was that whole line, and all I could think of in my head was "Evil Dream dies tonight."
Yeah.
Yes, the evil dream dies. Thank you. Someone's gonna have a baseball bat, please.
It's just what's his name? The fucking guy. Oh man, Rat Pack.
Oh,
guy. The guy from the movie who does the Evil Dies Tonight. I can't remember.
Yes, I know.
Anthony Michael Hall, right?
Anthony Michael Hall.
Doyle.
Anthony Michael Hall. Yeah, he just shows up randomly. What the fuck are you doing here? Get out of here!
I just made me think. Is it? What fucking show is it? Is it Billy Madison? Oh, Doyle rules. Is that?
Yeah.
That's what I guess.
Yep. And they drive right off a cliff. Yep.
Yep.
Oh man. So this made me laugh so hard. So they're in the place where Lopan's gonna get married. They ride down on an escalator.
Like this is a mall. Like they just restructured
That's
a
what
mall.
I said. This is an old mall because he's riding down an escalator right now, man, and he's making it look cool. It's just
like,
come on, man. Oh.
They're coming down the escalator into the food court.
Yeah, actually. You just see groups of people just like onto the side, like what the fuck is going on here? What is this, some sort of like con? Like is this a convention? I didn't know about
it has to be.
And this is where we meet the Guardian, the many-eyed Guardian. Oh man, this thing is like what the fuck, man? But I guess it's like something to. It's pretty much like a spy. It like goes around to detect anybody, and it can like telepathically communicate with Lopan, and then Lopan can like talk through it.
When this thing comes floating out, I was like, I turned to my kids. I was like, "Get ready, you're not prepared."
What is this?
And it looks fake, but it's so unnerving that it fits into the tone and the aesthetic of the rest of the movie. I think it's just so weird that by the time this thing shows up, you're like, "Yeah, why not? A ball full of eyes that can smile at you, right? Whatever."
It's eyeball Slimer is what it is.
That's right.
It is.
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, it's kind of like I said, it was done by the guy who did it. So
there's no way Lopan has not fucked that thing. I'm just going to throw it out there. I just want to plant that thought in everybody's mind.
There's eyes everywhere.
Right.
The sound that thing makes when Jack shoots it.
Yeah.
And it spins off.
I like it.
What does Jack say? You never know until you try.
Yep,
I just love that he does it when Lopan is in the middle of his his big dialogue. He's just like, fucking get out, shut up.
Yep.
Oh man. And then this is when we get Lopan escalating down because it wasn't funny the first time. It's gonna be funny the second time. Because before
going in the background, it's like a wrestling entrance. Like,
well, before it was everybody else was going down the escalator, and now it's Lopan, so it's like the badass guy. He'll make it cool. And so the whole group gets together, and Shen is getting his medicine ready. And I love that Jack goes over there. He's like, "What are we doing? Taking your medicine?" He's like, "Yeah." He's like, "Of course we are."
But all of a sudden he becomes like, "Are we taking?" And then it cuts, and all of a sudden Egg Shen is a bartender, and they're at a bar. Like, where are they
serving up?
It would have made more sense if they walked in on the ritual after Lopan comes down the escalator, and they just walk over to the bar and they're just drinking as they're waiting for the ritual to start.
Oh man, I just love after they take the medicine, they're in the elevator going. Of course, it goes down, and I just love the whole thing in the elevator where it's like, man, I'm feeling good. I'm feeling invincible right now. And then it's like, and then it turns into, is it hot in here?
Yeah.
Well, Dan, you were talking earlier about a scene being emblematic of the movie. This is the one that I wrote down. Like, this is the movie summed up for me. You don't really feel any danger. They're just in this elevator. They're all just kind of cool and just kind of vibing with it. You know what I mean? And then they're like, I feel invincible. Like, this is going to be great. And everybody's like, yeah, man. Yeah, this is great. It's so fun.
Yeah. And then in 1993, the Super Mario Brothers movie tried to do
it.
No, yeah.
And then in 2012, the Ninja Turtles live action Ninja Turtles movie did
in the elevator. Yep.
It's not bad. It's actually one of the best scenes in that movie.
It's all wheels with wheels.
Yep. So they get down to the wedding room there, and all hell breaks loose. I love how they pretty much have to sit back and like watch as Lopan has to marry these women. He has to he does his that's what he does, the nail thing.
I'm sorry.
Long nails. Oh my god, we're getting to that shot though. It's the best. But Wang, of course, is like hesitant. He just really wants to go up and get his girl, and Egg Shen is just like, no, we have to let him do it because we want him to be human. We want him to be vulnerable. He's not vulnerable right now. So, but then things happen. All hell breaks loose before the ritual can fully happen. And I think Gracie gets out of her trance, so she is able to kind of run off.
Wang kills the Cyclops.
Yeah, that's what the little eye thing is.
Yeah, I love it when it's like 75 cross eyes, just like oh.
And again, the sound.
Rip.
It's so stupid, but it's so I don't
know. This is the best because this is where you see just the stupidity of Jack, because as they're about to go into fight, he shoots the ceiling, knocking shit out of it, knocks him out.
Yep.
The shot where they're doing they're all in action, and it cuts back, and Jack's just lying on the ground as everybody's running. So, oh my gosh,
it's like, this is the full epitome of this character. Holy shit,
you've peaked, Jack. You've peaked.
So good.
This is where. And we also get the shot of Thunder punching a gun and it just turns to dust. I was like, holy shit.
Well, this is the part, Parker, I stopped writing down notes. I was just like, well, I'm just going to stop. I think I have that as a note. I'm going to stop writing notes now because this fight is just awesome.
Oh, this fight's so good.
Yeah.
This is the fight I definitely had to I just watched the whole thing and I was like, okay, I can pause it, write down what I saw, and then I can continue the movie.
Well, mind you, right after you said that, was it Thunder? I think it is. Breaks his gun, and then Jack's like, I don't know what the fuck I'm gonna do, and then fucking Egg just shows up and nades his feet, and he flies out the fucking upstairs window. Where you going, dude?
Well, what's great about this whole fight is that so much stuff happens, and Jack is he's not there. The hero of your story is not doing anything. He has that giant guard, and he stabs him up, but he's so heavy that he can't get him off. While all this stuff has happened, while Wang is fighting Rain, while Egg Shen is fighting Lo Pan, it's so Jack. I don't know what else this movie can do to tell you that Jack is not the star of this particular story, right? He's just the side character. This is what does it.
Oh, but this is where we get one of my favorite shots is when Egg Shen and Lo Pan shoot their fucking magic lasers with their fucking nails, and when they show Lo Pan, he's literally and he's making these weird noises as he's doing it.
Hong is having so much fun, man. It's so
dude.
great. And I wrote down, this is like the inverse of the Attack of the Clones scene, where it's Dooku fighting Yoda, right? They're fighting each other with their. And the difference is, in Attack of the Clones, we're supposed to be in awe of it, of this CGI creature fighting with this old man, right? And then what is it? The line in Attack of the Clones where Dooku's like, "Well, it's obvious we can't fight with lightning, so let's fight with our swords." It's like, in Star Wars, we're supposed to take that seriously. It's so dumb, but it's so self-serious. And in here, when Hong does that, it's letting you know that this is silly. Right, and it's fun, and it's dumb, but you're supposed to have fun with it. So, again, all these scenes are just telling you exactly what you're supposed to be feeling as you're watching the movie.
The other noise he makes is when he's trying to get the needle into into Wang's girlfriend, and it's not working out so well, and I think he like hits himself or something, and he's just like, ah! I'm just like, what is?
He hits all his fingers.
Yeah.
I'm better.
Oh no. Oh man. So Wang ends up killing Rain in this fight that literally is them just jumping. Like they're both got swords and they're just jumping at each other. And there's like an air sword fight, and I'm like, wow.
Dude, Wang's a badass.
Dude, he is the best.
It's cool because they're not using the wire work. They're literally just jumping off trampolines and they're flipping in the air. Like,
so good.
When Carpenter was shooting this, he's like, just get everything you possibly. When am I going to have a chance to do another kung fu movie? Just get everything you possibly can in the frame, and let's just go for it. So yeah, it's everything.
It's fantastic. But he ends up killing him. There's a
and he
makeout
makes a
session
funny
in
sound.
the elevator. Yeah.
Yeah, the makeout session is another emasculating.
So good. It's so good because it's one of those things where you've seen these type of scenes before in movies, but this is one where Jack comes out covered in lipstick and it's on his teeth, and he doesn't know. And he's trying to go into this next scene all badass,
giving the John Wayne speech, giving the rousing speech as he's got lipstick to smear all over. And he doesn't that's the whole point of the character, right? He doesn't realize what an idiot he is, even though he's trying to be the badass.
And then what do I say? Just do what old Jack Burton says. Who? Jack Burton, me. Like, they don't know who you are. They don't give a shit.
Which that's the Guardians of the Galaxy line where it's like, I'm Star-Lord. Who? Star-Lord, man. And this is where this is kind of like the final showdown of the movie where Jack and Wang they kind of first they have like a little showdown with Thunder, but then Thunder and Wang kind of go off and fight on their own. And so Jack is, pretty much facing off with Lo Pan, and you're like, oh shit, this is going to be an epic battle. It's not, because Jack throws his knife, completely misses. Lo Pan picks it up, and he's like, all right, time to kill you. But he throws it, and Jack catches it and immediately throws it back, and it goes straight into his forehead. And you're like,
he did something.
That's it? Holy shit. Like, this is the big bad, and this is when Jack comes in. Yeah, he kills the big bad.
Well, my son that was like, oh, that's Poe's dad, right? Like, as soon as he saw Jack, as soon as Lo Pan throws the knife back, my son was like, oh, this is the part where his reflexes are going to come in. He's going to save the day. So my son, who was kind of slowly getting into the movie, like he vibed with the movie right then, man. He knew exactly what was going to happen. And so when Jack says it's all in the reflexes, my son was like, told you. And so it was just, he's vibing with the movie. He's just a part of the excitement, I guess. I thought that was cool.
I actually, one part is when they go into that Wang and Thunder go into another room, and he's like chasing him. Like, you only see the door frame, and then like go back and forth. And then it's just that one scene where Thunder comes out and he breaks the dragon statue for like no fucking reason.
Just mad,
just keeps
there.
Yeah. Well, I actually when Burton kills Lo Pan, he actually, what it reminded me, my wife and I were talking about, it reminds me of the end of The Scorpion King.
Oh boy.
If you guys, if you, no, you know what I'm talking about, because the main baddie's little shtick is he's catching the arrows.
Mhm.
And then the Scorpion King always used that real strong bow, so it was faster than he was used to. I almost thought, like, this is his moment to shine. He's like, I'll show you. I felt like he undersold that first throw, kind of hoping he would, like, bait it, and then he did, like, the reflexes thing and, like, killed him.
Mhm. Well,
like, I think that's what it reminded me
You're
of.
talking to the Scorpion King, but we already talked. This is the Mummy again. Like, they're waiting for Lopan to get his form so they can kill him, right? And again,
absolutely.
I forget the Brendan Fraser character in The Mummy is another offshoot of Jack Burton. You know what I mean? It's another kind of take on the same kind of character, except in that one he's obviously the hero. But yeah, so they got
a little more competent, but that's okay.
Yeah.
See, I want to just believe that it was all luck for Jack. Like, it was just his reflexes.
It could have been.
They were really good. Because just from what we've seen from Jack, it wouldn't make sense for him to be like, finally has some sort of plan. It's like, oh shit, I just got to kind of go with what I know. And
well, when he says it's all in the reflexes, it's still bullshit. You know what I mean? He's still kind of, it's the bravado that he's trying to pull off. He didn't even know.
Yeah, exactly. Which he's been doing this whole fucking movie.
It's like he's actually questioning how the hell he's still alive at this point.
What was that?
Funny,
what was that,
like
Angela? Sorry.
I said he knows he has good reflexes. He caught the bottle in the beginning.
Yeah. So it's a payoff. It's not completely out of the blue, but still, I don't know if Jack meant to catch the bottle even at the beginning.
He may not have.
Yeah, he just could.
He may not have. And it's funny that, like, Lopan, the big bad guy, like, isn't the final bad guy to be killed. Like, we still have two other dudes to have to deal with here. So,
and that's the thing about this movie is, like, none of these final fights are that good because Lopan gets taken out pretty quickly, and then Thunder comes in and sees Lopan dead and then just blows up in the most comical way possible. Literally blows up. I mean, everybody and their mom has seen this scene of Thunder, blowing up to the point where, like, steam's coming out of his nose and ears, and he just blows up. It's so good.
The term violent.
Yeah. Violent. Oh shit.
Well, this is this movie's version of seppuku, right? Where the samurai would kill themselves and stab each other and gut themselves. It's this movie's version. Instead of doing the honor of stabbing himself in the stomach, he literally blows up like a balloon. It makes total sense.
I mean, you might as if you got the effects budget for it, you might as well.
Sure.
I mean,
and it's so good. It's so
oh
good.
god,
I love when they, like, you don't actually see him blow up; you just see his parts blow out from behind the wall.
Yeah.
Oh man! So now we only have one big bad left, and that is Thunder. Sorry, I just said
lightning. Yeah,
lightning. Yeah.
I think this might be my favorite shot in the movie, though. The movie is really silly, but this shot and the music, again, that's the cool thing about Carpenter's score is it's not the typical, like, Chinese kind of cliche. It's just his synths, right, that he usually does. It's kind of a rock and roll type. But the music mixed with the imagery, you know how lightning comes out and it's all the effects? It's so cool. As silly as the rest of the movie is, I think that one shot of lightning coming out and he's an actual threat and they react to him, I was like, that is sweet. That's really cool. That image is going to stick with me for a long time.
I just ruined all this for me. I'm sorry. I just thought of fucking Lightning McQueen and Chick from the first Cars. Thunder.
Ka-chow.
Yeah. It's all over. I cannot watch this movie again because I just can't think of. Fuck. Anyway, go ahead. Ka-choo. As he explodes.
Oh no. Oh Lord. So yeah, there's a showdown with lightning, and it's anticlimactic because they're literally coming up, and Egg Shen is like, he throws something down. He throws like a line down, like an arrow that he shoots into the ground.
Batman's this shit.
It's like he pulls one side, you go on the other. Yeah. So everybody goes up, and it's like the final. I think Wang is the final one, but Wang doesn't go up because lightning's coming up.
Yeah.
And all Egg Shen does is he grabs a fucking statue and just throws it at his face.
Bonk.
and that's it. That's how he dies. And you're like,
he grabs the Buddha statue, right? He grabs Buddha, and that's what kills. It's Asian mysticism and symbols, like defeating Asian mysticism and symbols. It's kind of, again, it's that wheels within wheels kind of thing. That was a cool kind of idea.
It's so good because it's not what you expect. You expect this. You expect a fight. You expect a battle. No, it's a fucking statue to the face. That's it. It's over.
Got to end it somehow.
Jack finds his truck. The Pork Chop Express is still alive, baby. And we got Shen out here just dropping bodies, man. He's just fucking throwing bombs, blowing people up, and just taking everybody out. And they end up escaping.
I guess there's a shot where you see like Jack running from the guys that, and what is it with this movie and groups of guys running into a room and machine gunning everybody? I think it happens like 3 or 4 times, right?
Right.
But when they do it this time, there's a shot you see Jack kind of outrunning him, and right when he passes out of frame, there's a squib that goes off, and I guess it was going off way too soon. And so Russell says it's the first time he's ever seen, and the only time he's ever seen Carpenter lose his cool on set, because the guy set off the squib too soon and was dangerous, and so he laid into him. Russell says in the commentary, like, "Oh, I wouldn't want to be that guy right now," because literally the guy he could have hurt Russell. He could have hurt his main star.
Yeah.
So, but it sells it. It's a cool effect by having you being so close to danger.
Yeah. So yeah, they escape. And we then get to the final kind of goodbyes with everybody. Like that's just how fast this movie ends. It's like, Shen ends up leaving. He's pretty much going to retire and go kind of explore the world. Wang pays up his debt from the beginning of the movie.
Triple.
He's got his girl. Yep, triples it. Yep, and he's got his
Nothing
girl
or triple.
Now, so
I like the lines when Egg says, Jack says, "Are you going to go back to China?" He's like, China's in my heart. Wherever I go, she's with me. I thought that was a really kind of poetic kind of line. And then I like when Margot is talking with Eddie and she's like, "How about you come over and we figure it out together?" that's
what they're about to fuck.
She's like, "Dude, just come to my house and put it in my butt."
That's
like,
right.
All right, dude. You could have just said that. That's easy.
If you're into that, yeah.
Listen, there ain't no into nothing. Somebody's going to be into something at the end of the night. That's all that matters.
And and then we don't get like that stereotypical final kiss between our lead and the female character. It was like, "Aren't you gonna kiss her?" Nope. and then leaves. Yep.
Always leave him wanting more, right?
Yep.
And and pretty much the movie ends the way it begins, excluding the beginning scene, with Jack back in his truck doing what he was doing before, giving his his odd advice over the radio, but with an exception. He has a stowaway, and that is the Beast.
I know what that is now. I figured it out.
What?
Yeah.
It's the love child between Lopan and that little eyeball thing.
Oh, yeah.
That's what spat out.
Yeah, that makes sense.
After he dicked down his floating flesh hole, he's like, "That's the baby."
Yeah.
So they just kept it in the sewer.
Total
and his final line of the movie is, "You just listen to the old Pork Chop Express here now and take his advice on a dark and stormy night when the lightning's crashing and the thunder's rolling,
thunder,
and the rain's coming down."
Rain. Yep.
So, yeah.
And then we get the Coupe de Ville song.
Yeah. John Carpenter, Nick Castle, and Tommy Lee Wallace's band.
Yep.
Singing our Big Trouble in Little China song at the end, which I did not know that's who it was. That's pretty awesome, though.
So everybody knows that Nick Castle played the Shape in the first Halloween, right? They were friends.
That's correct.
And then Tommy Lee Wallace I think he was second unit director on this, and they've been friends. And then he went on and directed Halloween 3. So he's the director of that. And then the It miniseries that was on in the 90s. He directed that.
Fuck yeah, dude.
Yep. So
he's Tommy Lee Wallace is the one who helped design the original Michael Myers mask.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
So
yeah, really cool. And they're still very good friends to this day. So pretty cool. But that is it. That is Big Trouble in Little China. So now it is time to go around the room and talk about our final thoughts on the movie. And of course, we're going to change it up. Let's start with the two people who have never seen this movie before. Let's start with Angela, because Angela has been kind of quiet tonight. So Angela, use your big booming voice.
My big booming voice.
She has to work early in the morning now, so she's not.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, it's fine. I'm struggling.
Tell us your final thoughts on this movie.
I still have no clue what was going on even after we talked about it, but I loved it nonetheless. Like, I want to watch it again.
Good.
I love the sewer monster. I said it looked like a hairy predator.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it.
That's a great attitude to have, because I think that's all. At the end of the day, I think that's all they really wanted you to do. They wanted to give you all this crazy shit, and they wanted to entertain you. And if it did that and made you want to watch it again, it accomplished its job. Like I think I tweeted after the movie was over, my kids spent the whole time going, "What the heck?" and cackling, and I was like, "That's what I wanted them to do. I wanted them to have a fun time with it." So yeah.
Yeah, were great too. So
I think our little one watched it for a little bit. Ridley, he came in for a little bit, not for super long. He's like, "What are you guys watching?" And we're like, "Big Trouble in Little China." What's this? I was like, "Just watch the fucking movie."
Our daughter asked what we were watching. We told her, and she runs off. She's like, "What are you watching?"
I was like, "You already asked that." But are you finished? I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I don't want. Okay.
I'm finished.
My sentiments are no different. Like this, I had no idea what was going on. But like I said, I was along for the ride, super into the movie, early into the movie, and it was a great time. Like it's really fun. I like how they treated the fish out of water story, and it was great because there wasn't like this miraculous like, oh, he gets it now. Like at the end of the movie, no, he never got it. He never had it except for this one lucky break he had late in the movie. And he just made his ass out of himself the whole time. But it was wonderful. And everybody, like most of the people were charming in the movie. And the casting was great. And the acting was fun. And the effects were fun. And the movie just goes. And that's all you want. That's all you need. So,
yeah.
Darin.
Okay, well, when you guys were talking about like the three movies, Parker, you said these are the choices. And I was like, well, I was really crossing my fingers for Big Trouble in Little China, because I really love talking about this movie. I've seen it maybe a dozen times. Like I said, it's ingratiated in my brain from when I was a kid. Somebody on Twitter, I'm looking up his name, Edmund He, who's a follower. I think he even commented on the episode when you were asking for opinions on it. But he asked, because he's Asian too, and he was all, well, you being half Asian, how did your... And I told him, I was saying that my kids were watching it with me, and he said, how did your kids feel about the Asian representation? And I said, okay, so my kids, they're very interested in their backstory. They're very interested in their lineage. They love hearing their grandma like talk about her time in Hong Kong. They live for that stuff. They always ask her questions about that. But also me being half Chinese and seeing all these movies and knowing how Asians have been treated typically in movies, they're treated as the idiots or the goofballs or like the point and laugh at them kind of thing, right? When this movie came out, I think people were having a reaction of, oh, there's going to be Asians with it, and John Carpenter's a white dude, and Kurt Russell's the star of the story, and like they already had their knives out for it, right? And so yep. I think Edmund even commented, he said that when he first watched the movie, he always thought of it as being racist, but now he's got a different attitude about it. And again, watching all these movies and only being half Chinese and not facing the kind of prejudice that a lot of my cousins or my grandparents face by having darker skin or whatever, that kind of thing, right? Not having to go through any of that. I kind of have always stood back and looked at it kind of bemused, like, oh, isn't it silly how people treat Asians, that kind of thing. But I accept it, because if you look at movies like John Wayne, of all things, played Genghis Khan in a movie. John Wayne played an Asian, right? And that's really offensive. But if you look at it, it's like, well, they couldn't sell Asian actors back then because there was that prejudice. There was the racism. So all they could do was hire white people to tell these stories, right? So that's not this. By the time this movie shows up, like this was before Jackie Chan and Jet Li and John Woo and all that stuff hit, and we started appreciating kind of the Asian culture. This doesn't treat the Asians as goofballs. Who is the goofball in this movie? It's the white dude. Right? The white dude that has no idea what's going on. He's just going along for the ride. All the Asians, like Wang knows exactly what's happening. Egg Shen knows exactly what's happening. They're the constants. They're the knowledgeable people. They're the respectable characters because they know all this stuff. They're caught up in. So I don't look at it as racist at all. I think of it as kind of like I'm happy to see Asian characters treated as the heroes. Wang is literally the hero of the story, right? Even though Jack thinks he's the hero. Wang thinks he's the sidekick, but he's not. He's doing the heroic stuff. He's the one that beats Rain. He's the one that has the girlfriend and saves her in the end, that kind of thing, right? So I don't think of this as racist at all. I think of it as it just being a step forward and kind of open the doors for Jackie Chan to come in and for us to kind of respect that. But again, you're looking at Donald Lee, who plays Eddie. You're looking at Dennis Dune, who didn't have I think he dabbled in martial arts, but he was like opera trained. But he handles himself perfectly. He's able to have that chemistry with Kurt Russell. Kurt Russell never blows him off the screen. Wang is always very respectable, and he's a presence, right? You've got James Hong, obviously, who's just great. I think I mentioned Carter Wong already. You've got all these Asian actors, and Dennis Dent said that. He's like, I'm seeing Asians do things on screen that I've never seen them do before, right? So for representation, I think this movie's great. Yeah, it's silly and it has all the mysticism and stuff, but it treats it as a serious thing. It never treats it as a joke. It's always Jack that's kind of having the silly kind of reaction to it. So as a half Asian, I love watching this movie and having that representation. And I hope other Asians watch this movie and feel the same way, like Edmund did. It's like, this is a very uplifting story that treats these Asian characters as the heroes and as the knowledgeable ones instead of the butt of the joke. And I really appreciate that about the movie. A movie that's completely silly, right? There's nothing really going on in the movie more than have a great time with this. And I think it does that without resorting to the Charlie Chan, Fu Manchu kind of stereotypes, even though a lot of people think that's what it's doing. But I don't think it's doing that at all. I think this movie it's not Carpenter's greatest, but it's a great entertainment. Why do we go to movies?
Yeah.
We go to movies for this stuff, right? So I think it's great.
Yeah.
No kidding.
This is definitely a movie I would 100% go see on the big screen because it's just it's just so much happening
with an audience, right? A midnight showing. How fun would that be?
Yeah. Oh, that'd be fucking great.
Yeah. So good. Yeah. I mean, like I said, I haven't seen this movie in like probably 20 years, and to be able to see it kind of with fresh eyes as an adult, I loved it. I loved every second of it. I think other than I think the weird, just convoluted beginning that didn't make any sense. It didn't matter to me because because to be honest, going forward, I feel like I could just completely skip that scene and just start from the point of Kurt Russell being in his truck doing his thing, and that it's like I said, it's nonstop. There's not a period that you're just kind of like, okay, come on, guys, let's pick it up. Let's figure out what we're doing. Let's go. No, they make plans quick. They do things. They make another plan quick. They do things. And the fact that we are so ready for Kurt Russell to be such a badass, and he's really not. He's just fumbling around and doing stupid shit, knocking himself out and stuff. It's just hilarious to me because it is showing the fact that like you're giving, these Asian characters, like you're making them the badass because they are badass. You're not making, Kurt Russell the white savior.
Yeah,
you're
not at all.
Doing those things, and which, I enjoyed that. I think it was great. My favorite scene is definitely the fact that Kurt Russell shoots a bunch of bullets, fucking runs away, and Wang just beats the shit out of like 25 guys, and then Kurt Russell just comes out around the corner at the end and just is like, and you're like, yeah, that's what you are. That's what you are, man. Wang's a fucking badass, man. This dude's like 5'5", and he's around just kicking the shit out of everybody.
Yep.
Come on, man. This movie's fun as hell. I can't wait to watch it again. I'm definitely gonna be snagging that Scream Factory Blu-ray at some point and rewatching this. I want to go deep behind the scenes to listen to that Kurt Russell, John Carpenter commentary track. This is definitely a movie I would love to make our own commentary track on. I think this would be a lot of fun to kind of revisit together and kind of give our own little commentary. Other than that, I love this movie. I don't want hell yeah, come on. But yeah, I love this. This movie's great. This movie's fantastic, and I can't wait to watch it again. We are now going to go to social media because we had a lot of comments on this movie, which is fantastic.
Thank you.
A lot of people. This is a lot of engagement on this post. A lot more than we usually get. So thank you to everyone who commented on all of our social medias. If you didn't know, every single week before we record our episodes, the day before, whenever I watch the movie, I post what the movie is we're covering, and we kind of let you guys share your comments on what you thought of the movie, or anything pretty much based on the movie we are covering. And we do it on I post it on all of our social media, so on X/Twitter, Instagram, Threads, Facebook, all of those. So you guys can go over there and comment on whatever app you use. We're going to start over on Twitter as we always do. Our first one is from our friends over at Quad Pro Quo Podcast, who just said, would inviting myself on your podcast again be in poor taste?
Yeah.
Oh, well, Allie's going to be back again for another episode. We're very excited for her. But we had Darin on for today, so unfortunately we couldn't have Allie on. But Allie, it's always okay to invite yourself on the podcast. We love it. Our next one is from @ShootTheFlick, who said it was a lot of fun. We did an episode on it a while back. Part of me wishes it was fully allowed to be Carpenter's full movie without studio interference. Still enjoy it every time, though. So make sure to go and check out, go follow Shoot the Flick and check out their episode on Big Trouble in Little China.
Isn't it great that this is enough of a Carpenter movie? Yeah, it's not all of his, but it's still enough that it's a Carpenter movie. It's not as, you know what I mean? So
it still feels like a Carpenter movie. Yeah. Our next one is from @Punches and Popcorn, who says, "Oh, just may you be coming soon to our current 80 season." Okay. I can't wait to hear your take. What a freaking awesome movie. Our next one is from NostalgiaCast or @DW Lundberg, who just says, "Can't wait to discuss whatever the hell this thing is." It's just The Guardian, man. That thing. We discussed it.
It did not disappoint. Yeah.
No. Our next one is from @SP_film viewers, who said, more fun than I expected it to be, and one we might cover on an episode down the line. At that movie page said, one of the most infinitely rewatchable films ever made for me. It has everything: comedy, action, magic, monsters, sorcerers, a top tier villain, and a hero who only thinks he's the hero.
Mm-hmm.
Amazing film. @HalfHorror says, Big Trouble in Little China has lived rent-free in my head ever since I saw the last minute of it while rewinding a borrowed videotape and asked, what was that? It remains a personal favorite. @RushyNet says, one of the inspirations for me getting my HGV Class 1 license in 1990. The DAF 3600 was not quite the Pork Chop Express, but I stuck with it for 5 yeast. Nice. I love it. I love when movies inspire people to do stuff like that. That's
starting careers. Awesome.
A podcast talk about movies. I mean, it's kind of crazy how that kind of works. Not a job, but you know, it's a hobby. @SuperNerd525751. I love this movie. Though it bombed or underperformed at the box office, I'm glad it eventually became a cult classic. Pretty much every Carpenter film became a cult classic because fucking Hollywood hated John Carpenter, and all fucking reviewers hated John Carpenter.
That's a shame.
Man.
It seemed that way, yes.
@D McGill writes, said, meh, I'm glad I finally saw it. I can see the appeal, but it's a pretty wacky film. I will give it credit for one line I'll never forget, even with just one viewing. I'm feeling like I have a very positive attitude, which I believe is from the elevator scene, or something like that. The context for when it says it. So we have our first, opinion, which is fine.
That's okay.
It's bound to happen. Yeah. Keep your opinions to your fucking self, but that's fine. Just kidding. I'm 100% kidding. Thank you. I'm glad people have different opinions.
Yes, we love it. We love it.
I want somebody to come on here and just fucking shit on this movie. I want to hear it.
We want to see how much you hate it.
Please.
We don't have to read those on air either. We can just ignore them.
@go_D_Zilla said, this film's a masterclass in how to handle a plot-driven story. Everything jumps from one thing to the next seamlessly that you totally forget about Jack's truck for the whole film. Oh, I did. 100% did.
When he gives that line, there's my truck. My truck! It's like, oh yeah, his truck.
Oh shit, there's a truck, right, yeah.
That's what we're here for.
@Count_Dreg says, it is my favorite movie, full stop. Carpenter, Russell, Kung Fu, 80s, nothing better. @Disco Wizard says, it's one of the greatest movies of the 80s. @Arthur Flory said, the best. @Edmund He Won, I think that's who you're talking about, right? Yeah, it said, I'm Chinese and I used to find it racist, but now I think it's the first great Asian American fantasy. It's great to be able to kind of, seeing it in a different view. That's kind of how I kind of went into it this time. So I mean, not in the same light as Edmund, but I understand. It's good to see, kind of what he was able to see.
Yeah.
And our last one on Twitter is from @MC203T, who said a sequel, maybe a remake. No, we don't need a remake, but I would love to see a sequel with a fucking 72-year-old Kurt Russell as back as Jack Burton, still driving the Pork Chop Express, baby. Oh yeah, that would be so good.
He can be just as useful. Why not?
Exactly.
It's gonna be a buddy cop movie with the monster thing. It's gonna be just him hanging out. He's gonna be telling stories. They're gonna be old together.
Yeah, we saw the end of the movie thinking it was gonna be a monster, like it was gonna attack Jack. No, they're gonna be best friends.
Yeah, dude. Oh, that'd be sweet.
Yeah, why not?
Over on Instagram, we have a couple comments from Fire Fenriers. The way he whips that rig, laughing my ass off. It's like he's driving a sports car. And don't look at the stunt driver. And then we have video _ Villa _ entertainment, who said, all aboard the Pork Chop Express.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that is all the comments. Yes. So thank you to everybody who commented on this week's episode. Make sure to follow us on all the social media apps and be part of the show. We love reading your comments, because we love to hear what you thought of the movies we cover. Because like we said, we like to hear all of the opinions. Do not be afraid. If you don't like a movie that we all liked or a movie that everybody else likes, don't be afraid to voice your opinion, because we want to read it. We're not going to judge you here. We're not like the majority of the internet.
I still feel bad that I shit all over Spawn and then you guys actually didn't mind it.
Oh yeah. No. I mean, it's not great, but I enjoyed it.
And we also want to know, I didn't do it for 1985. Maybe I'll do it now that I'm thinking about it. But maybe I'll put a vote up on the social medias of what your favorite film was of the ones that we picked for the specific year. So, of course, in 1985, we did Silver Bullet, we did Return to Oz, and then we did what did we? Oh, The Black Cauldron.
Yeah. Yep, that's the one.
That's just the one.
So
the one you
Disney
barely
was
released
about it too.
Yeah. Now I got to remember all the ones from 1986. 1986, we did Little Shop of Horrors. We did. What was it? Oh, Great Mouse. I forget my pick. The Great Mouse Detective.
The one after The Black Cauldron.
Yes, exactly. And then, of course, Big Trouble in Little China. And then next month, we're starting off with The Guyver. And then you guys will have to wait on what we're going to be covering for the rest of that month. But we got a lot of fun. We have guests for the rest of this Year We Were Born series. I'm very excited. We got some returning guests. We have some first-time guests, especially at the end of the 1991 month. Someone that Darin is well-versed in. We'll talk about it.
They probably hate this individual. You hate this person right there.
If you want to know who it is,
I hate everybody.
If you want to know who it is, if you know who the man's voice is that intros this show, then there's your answer. But yeah, we're gonna talk about The Guyver next week. Thank you so much, Darin. Again, thank you so much, and also thank you for having our longest episode so far of 2024. We appreciate you so much.
Thanks for riding that clock.
Yeah.
Again, guys, it comes back to if I didn't have such a fun time talking with you about these movies, we wouldn't be going this long. So it's your fault.
Absolutely.
Don't be so likable.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I know.
Fine. Blame our hospitality.
Yeah,
all right?
seriously.
It's fine.
Thank you, assholes.
Oh, oh man. But thank you again for being here. It is always a absolute pleasure having you on and listening to all the amazing input that you bring to our show, because you bring more info than I do. Not that I say that I bring a lot to the show other than what I bring, but you definitely bring a lot more, and I appreciate it because you make my job a little bit better. But before we go, can you please share where everybody can find you and your wonderful podcasts?
Well, as Dan was just showing, you could we've got Back to Bluey, we've got NostalgiaCast, our 2 podcasts going. You can just find me at DW Lundberg on Twitter. That's the only place that I kind of populate. So until I'm going down with that ship, I guess you could say. But yeah, all my links, and I'll keep posting links to episodes. We've got Close Encounters out right now. I think we just covered Markets for Back to Bluey. So yeah, come over. It's just 20 minutes for Back to Bluey. It's not like the hour and a half conversation we had on Close Encounters. Have these little 20-minute segments of joy. And sorry, I cut out there. But yeah, have these little 20-minute segments of joy, and just come over and just kind of enjoy Bluey, and hopefully you get to watch that show, and everything like that. We'd love to have you. Love to hear from you.
Yes, please listen to the show. It's fantastic. You can find both the show's links down in the description or in the show notes.
Thank you.
We highly recommend. I always am always sharing anything that Darin puts out on social media. So if I'm sharing it, it's definitely worth it. So you can find us on all the. I already stated where we are on social media, but we are on Patreon, patreon.com/dissect that film, where we for just a little $1. You can get early access to shows. You can get a chance to participate in our polls, our monthly ending polls that you like. You guys help us choose what movie we're covering at the end of the month, which is the reason we covered this movie, the reason we covered The Black Cauldron, and then next month. So for a single $1, you can do all that fun stuff. And we post like bloopers and stuff like that. And then for the $5 tier, we have a Patreon exclusive show called The Monster Zone, where we talk about monster movies. And that show is hosted by Dan and Angela. This month, I think, when this episode airs, I don't know what movie we're covering, but last month we covered a really bad movie called The Loch Ness Horror. It is really bad, but it was a lot of fun to talk about how bad that movie was. So, hey, help support the show financially if you can over on patreon.com/dissect that film. And thank you to all of our wonderful patrons. You guys are all amazing. And all of our personal links will be down in the description. Is there anything else that I missed?
The only thing I was going to say is I think you already did, but I'll just reiterate this. If you want to support the show for free, you can comment on social media, and we will probably read your comment online. So like you said earlier in the thing, just interact with us, share stuff, like us.
Like us, please.
I mean, not like us, but just like hit the button.
Yeah.
I don't force our hand on this too hard.
Oh, I mean,
I guess
if you want to help us help support the show on whatever podcast app you're listening to, make sure to leave us a review if you can. 5 stars really helps us out. If you can leave us a actual review, do that if you want. It's fun to read your guys' reviews. It's awesome to see the numbers going up on the reviews on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Good Pods, all those apps. And if you're watching us on YouTube, we appreciate you. Thank you so much for watching us. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe on the video. Make sure to leave a comment down below. And we're trying to get to that 1,000 subscribers over on YouTube in 2024. So that's fun. All right, I think that's about it, everybody. Thank you so much for all your love and support. Thank you to Darin again for being here because he's amazing.
Thank you, guys.
And until next time, I am Brett Parker. That is Dan Angela of DNA Gaming, and that is Darin Lundberg. And this has been another episode of the Dissect That Film podcast. We'll see you all again next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.